show the gut to the side. Look at that thing, man. Oh my God. Now that's how you start. Dude, that thing is so long. That's what we're looking for.
That thing.
That, to me, looks like a PB. What do you think? That's going over 5.
No, it's not 5, but holy crap.
Dude. Damn right. That's a 4. Dude. 4 pounder right off the bat. Here we go. Oh my God. Dude. Look at that. I have big hands. That thing's huge. Girthy. That's triple C thick.
Calling them today, boys.
Heyo, what's going on, everybody? Cheers, my friend. Jim, how you doing? Gordy, Tommy, Mass Big Baits. Hey, friend. How's everybody doing on this wonderful Wednesday night? Now that we're back in the room, not in the truck, with probably what was terrible road noise, if I had to take a guess.
Probably. Good morning, all you. Good morning. Good morning, all you weirdos that like to hold rods.
This is a very blue shirt. I'm like, we're looking at my screen, like, damn, that is blue.
It looks blue there. It looks purple on you.
Does it really? Oh, it could be the saturation I have on the camera. Yeah, my neck. Oh, we have a lot to talk about. I just realized my notepad is over there. I gotta get it.
Go get it.
Today has been very stressful. Talk about coming down to the wire. Andrew pulled in the driveway. I'm like, not yelling at my wife, but I'm just like frustrated trying to get this graph mounted on my boat to go out and do some product testing with work tomorrow. And the mount that was made for me today in the machine shop didn't really want to fit because one cable was not accounted for in the design. And I made what should have been like a 40-minute run into a 25-minute run, which is saying something given how close the place is anyway. Got down in here with Andrew finishing setting up everything after I cleaned up my boat and put all my tools away at like 7:52.
And now we're here.
Cutting into the wire. What's going on, Dave? How you doing, buddy? We have a lot to discuss tonight, so I really hope you guys all brought notepads and pens or laptop or something, because we're going to cover everything for largemouth and smallmouth, and I'm going to try and make this as comprehensive as I can in the sense of a lot of different baits, a lot of different techniques, a lot of elaborating on why we choose to attack certain areas, and that's going to cover both largemouth and smallmouth. So that's a lot. That's like a lot. I honestly almost thought about doing largemouth and smallmouth in their own episodes, and they would still probably be an hour and a half each. My goal, I'm hoping, especially if I let Andrew talk more than me, we can keep this to less than 2 hours. That is the plan. Whether or not that will happen, we shall see. So hopefully you guys all stick around. I have not been on social media like at all since I posted, like I usually do about the stream being on. So for anybody that did share it, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. I will get to that later so I can personally thank everybody. That's very important to me that I do that and make my way around and talk to everybody, and because I do truly appreciate everybody that does that. So there's that. What else we got? We're not going to do a weekend fishing report because we fished a lot. We will quickly recap it in 5 minutes, and that'll just kind of give you guys an idea as to what we ran into. But a lot of what we're going to talk about also covers basically what we did all weekend anyway, the couple weeks before that, certainly what the plan is for the next few weeks.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. I'm not sure. I know what we're doing this Sunday. We're going back up to Vermont. We're going to that place we went to last year where we hammered them offshore on the grass. We're going to talk about that a lot with Robbie. Mm-hmm. And I think Kyle's going to follow us up.
Oh, cool.
If we're not going to do that one, we're going to do the one just below it. The one that Travis has fished a lot.
Oh, yeah. Ooh.
I mean, really, either way, we can't go wrong. So there's that.
Big fish in both places.
Oh, yeah. Hey, David, ATV18. All right, good enough. 5 minutes in. Let's get to it. So for everybody that's here, thank you very much. As always, we greatly appreciate everybody that comes out every week to listen to us ramble and rant and rave about all things bass fishing related. If you haven't done it yet, please drop a like on the stream because that helps way more than you could anticipate, and I will elaborate on that before continuing on. The gist of what we did this weekend, where we were invited out to be guest guides, where we had the opportunity to meet with Oliver and I from Big Bass Dreams, and we got invited onto the team. We are now part of Big Bass Dreams. So let that sink in for a second. And that we had the opportunity to start guiding ourselves, and that we actually had, I think I had about a dozen different people that tried to get in on that day. None of that would have happened without the support from you guys. I'm not saying that just to make you feel better. I'm not trying to make it sound like, I'm not trying to over elaborate on anything or overemphasize or over exaggerate like anything like that. Like, it's legitimately because of you guys. Like, I started this just because it was fun. And then we started this whole show because Andrew and I were like, yeah, shit, that sounds like fun. Everything we've done has just been because it sounds fun. And it provides a creative outlet, and we just get to dive further and further into bass fishing, like everything related. And you guys like it a lot. And because of everything that has grown as a result of us two northeastern schmucks just talking about bass fishing every single week, we've had these opportunities that we've been able to go after. And they literally would not have happened if you guys didn't like what we do, like literally like it, like emotionally like it, physically or virtually dropping likes on it and sharing posts or videos or like any of that. Every single aspect of what we did this past weekend was because of what you guys have done for us to support us. So again, if that doesn't put it in perspective, I don't know how else I can best explain it, but I hope that helps. And I think I speak for both of us when I say I am extremely appreciative of everything that you guys have done for us and the opportunities that it has led to us for things. English.
Fishing.
It's been a long day.
Bass. Things.
Yeah. So when I ask for likes on videos and stuff, it helps. Sometimes it's just nice to have a reminder, like plenty of people do it and they just kind of forget about it. So it's just a friendly little nudge. Some people think it's pestering, and I totally get that, but it's always just nice to kind of remind people, and being able to elaborate on why it's important and how it helps more than anything. It's always good to touch base on that. So there's that. Anybody that wants to make donations, awesome. Greatly appreciate that as well. There's one of three ways you can do it. You can, if you're set up to do it right here on YouTube, you can go ahead and just donate through the chat, or down in the video description below, there are links to both our PayPal, which is 603bass@gmail.com, or Venmo, which is snoov603bass. But again, they're down in the video description. Just copy paste it. Anything you guys are willing to do to help would be greatly appreciated, but not necessary. And then final piece before we go into it, I'm thinking somewhere in the middle of this, we're going to do another raffle and do a t-shirt and or hat, whatever people want to get. Maybe we'll do a twofer. We'll increase the buy-in a little bit. We'll do a twofer, a t-shirt, and a hat.
Double whammy.
Yeah. Well, you guys let me know what you think. What did I click? I clicked the button. Hopefully that didn't ruin anything. So, aside from that, let's go into it. Let's do the 5-minute recap on the weekend fishing report. I will start really quick that we were in Vermont in multiple locations. Lake Champlain, and you will never know. So there's that. How did we do, buddy?
Champlain was all right. Champlain, okay. So compared to the last time we were up there, Champlain was shit this time.
Yeah.
I mean, we did not get the numbers, obviously, that we got last time. It was just different. I mean, we were also fishing that deep summer pattern up there where everything was just kind of like, where the hell are they? They should be in the grass, but we can't find smallmouth. And like, it's just, we got largemouth everywhere that we should have gotten smallmouth.
It was weird.
Until the last day, last night with Oliver. And
we wouldn't have done that if he didn't tell us, like, hey, follow me. I found a spot that's like producing smallies. We're like, okay.
So we followed them, and the smallies were there, and it was like kind of lights out, kind of. I mean, they were biting like almost every second or third cast.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we were also fishing in the wake of Oliver, Riley, and then the 3 camp kids they had. So, and we're only like 150 feet behind them, maybe 200. So we were trying to pick up, secondary, whatever they missed. And so that's always a little slow when you're fishing behind somebody.
I hooked another drum, though, while we were out there with them.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you broke that off.
It broke me off.
Yeah.
You know what else broke me off?
About one of the biggest bass you probably ever hooked in your life.
Oh, it was.
I don't think it was a pike.
I don't think so either.
There's no drum where we were. There's trout, but last I checked, trout don't like to be in 2 feet of water on the shore in the middle of summer when the surface temp is 82.
That pike would have broke me off instantly as soon as I set that hook.
It didn't run like a pike either.
No.
That was just
it
like...
just turned and it was just like, all right, here we go.
Shoulders! That's what your fish did. Shoulders!
Yeah. I couldn't stop it. There was nothing. My drag was locked. It was pulling drag, and then it just broke me off.
It wasn't even running. That's the crazy thing.
It was just moving.
It just turned. It was like, I'm going this way. You're welcome to do whatever you want, but I'm going this way. And that way he went.
I couldn't tell you how big it was. It was the hardest fighting fish I've ever felt in my life, besides that drum, but other than that.
I've been present for your PB. Almost every single 6+ pounder and 5+ pounder you've ever caught, including that 17-pound drum. And not once have you been overpowered in that sense. The drum, definitely, but that was sprint.
Yeah.
You've got big pike that, yes, pulled line on the sprint. There was no sprint in that. That was just pure fucking raw horsepower.
Yeah, it was just torqued.
Torque, sorry.
And it was going wherever the hell it wanted for about, 6-7 seconds. And then it's just gone.
One head shake. Uh-huh. She's like swimming away. She's like, you know what? I'm done with this. Bye. Bye, Felicia.
That one just like instantly broke me.
Oh, in all fairness, it could have been no, there are no bowfin in this lake that we were at. That is a South Jersey, very good observation. And if we were anywhere else, I would agree with that. But I know that there's no bowfin in there. But that would definitely be a very real possibility if they were in there. Because I've hooked one. And they fight kind of like between a bass and a pike. Like, it's just like pure torque, and then all of a sudden...
They just take off.
They run.
Yeah.
My God, is that fun. I was talking to a coworker about that today. I told him I caught one. He's like, what did he eat? It was like a jig. I have no idea how. Literally the first one I ever saw, I dropped a jig, and the thing's like, oh, yum. It ate it, and just like... The whole time, I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Yeah, it was... That was kind of heartbreaking for me.
It's okay. You'll get it back.
Well, last fish, I called it kind of. I just want one more fish.
So, well, yeah. So the first 2 days we did the Candlewood camp, and it was kind of a wash. We got to wrap this up so we can get like into the meat of this.
Right.
And then the next 3 days we went to a different location. Saturday we didn't get there till 1. We fished till about 5. Andrew stuck yet another 6, and then I think you had a couple of 3s. I had a couple of maybe 3s. Like most of them were like 2.5 to 3, and it was like, we only fished for like about 5 hours, and then we were beat, dude. It was so hot up there. Went back, got a bunch of McDonald's, went to our Airbnb, and then stayed up way too late watching 12 Strong on Netflix, which highly recommend. Pretty good movie.
I watched it twice.
We did. Well, because I had like 8 different people talking to me, so I missed the first half an hour of the movie. And just trying to rehydrate. Dude, we had a hard time staying hydrated. So Saturday, Sunday, we did our first guide trip with our buddy Dean. Phenomenal day. You take over on that.
He caught his PB twice. Not in the right order. He caught the bigger PB first, and then he caught another one just a little smaller, which was still beat his previous PB. But he got him.
And those were back-to-back, too.
They were back-to-back.
4.63 and a 4.50.
Yep. That was awesome to see that. It was not that he was struggling all day, but I think we were casting into the spot where, like, we were working the outside edge of the grass line in 15 to 20 feet.
I don't even think it was that deep. I think like 10 to 15 is where most of the bites got to. There were some areas we got to 20 feet, and I think, oddly enough, the deeper we went, the smaller the fish got. No idea, but it was pretty consistent because being in the front, I was just kind of trying to call out stuff for Andrew and Dean. And like, I already had a couple big fish in the boat. So I'm like, I'm just going to keep going deep. And I just kept getting like bitten by dinks until the end of the second half of the day. And then like all of a sudden I had like back to back to back, like quality fish. I'm like, okay, everybody focus this way. Shift the boat out, redirect our attention to the outside edge of the grass. Cause it was like deadly consistent on the inside line. But yeah, continue.
So I feel like me and Sean were casting up into that area, and he couldn't really get the position, so he was casting up into the grass, and that's where I think he cast up into the inside of the grass line.
Yeah,
and that's when he hooked into that fish, his first PB.
Yep.
And then we moved out, and we were all casting all of the outside grass all at the same time. We were just like one after another, after another, after another. It was just such a good day. We caught probably close to over 50 fish that day.
I'm confident it was over 50. I have no idea what the real high side of it was, but like,
I mean, we fished for 13 hours.
50. Yeah, and like the last 2 hours were slow, but we got to a point where I was like, okay, we got this nailed down pretty good. Andrew had a 5 to start the day for a big fish. Then I had
5.10.
Yeah, that's right. I caught a 5.63, and then there was another. Then you stuck a 4 something. No, I did. Did I have the 4 before? No. I had a 3.12. I had
one big day to me. I have no idea.
We had 3 at 3 3/4, and then a couple at 3.10, 3 pounds 10 ounces. And then all of a sudden, Dean stuck his 4 pound 10 ounce, and then a 4 pound 8 ounce. I'm like, okay, we're one like good fish away. At that point, we already had like 22 pounds and change. I forget, like high 22. And I was like, we're like, if we get another 4 pounder, this is going to be quite possibly the second best day of largemouth we ever had. And we kept working a couple different spots. We wanted to go to another spot. There was a boat there, so we kind of skirted around him, looked back, they were gone. I was like, we should go back to there and work that for like the last hour of light we have. And they're like, all right. So we went over, and literally first cast, I bombed it out. I knew the outside edge of the grass somewhere close. And like straight off the nose of the boat. And Dean's like, hey, where's the grass? I look down my 360 and I'm looking back. I'm like, it's somewhere. Oh, hang on, I'm getting bit. Yep, that's it. Ended up being another 4 pound 10 ounce. So I made for a 24.32 pound for our best 5. If you throw in our best 6, and the only reason I say that is because there's a big tournament on Champlain. Our 6th biggest fish was 3 pounds 12 ounces. So 3.75 on top of that. We had over 28 pounds on our best 6, which is pretty damn good.
Yeah, it was a fun day. It was
phenomenal.
And then the next day we went out. We're just like, well, we could just go to another place. We could go back, and we're just like, let's just go back and just try and replicate what we did.
And we did.
They were still there.
We caught the 2 biggest fish of the day, back-to-back casts almost. Pretty close, within 5 casts of each other, I'm thinking, because we were fishing pretty slow. Mm-hmm. And I ended up sticking a 4.75.
Yep.
And then Andrew was like, at that point I already had a couple of 3s too, I think. And he was just like, I just want one more fish, man. And he was fishing with a different trailer, and he was like, I got to change my trailer. I haven't got bit since I changed this. And so I handed him the Rage Croc, because that's what I was starting to catch him on. Literally first cast.
That was the sickest catch I think I've ever had in my life. It was the coolest thing.
I missed the jump.
You missed all of it besides the net. And like, I bombed it out. There was like, so we're sitting on top of this kind of a hump kind of area, and there's like this grass line that comes way out to a point. And we're sitting just on the left side of it, just on the outside of it, and I bombed out deep, relatively speaking. We're probably into 15 feet, 15, 20 feet.
Yeah, I would say probably only 15 feet on the deep end.
I bombed it out, and I'm sitting there letting line out because I wanted to drop exactly where I casted it. And I look back at him, I click my reel shut, and I look back, my line is racing, like it's like taking the fuck off. Like, I'm like, holy shit. So I go to set the hook, and I just set it and it just stops. I'm like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden, this
5.75.
Almost 6 pound bass comes shooting out of the water, like 4 feet, 3.5, 4 feet out of the water. And it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. That fat fuck jumping that high out of the water.
Dude, I'm so pissed I missed it.
Oh, it was so cool.
And I didn't, what was that? We were talking about it afterwards. I didn't see like any of it. The only thing I saw was like what the remnants of the splash from this jump, right? And I said to him after like the whole ordeal was done, we took our pictures and some videos and we released the fish. So I was like, dude, I knew there was a big fish just from the hook set. He looks at me. I'm like, every time one of us hooks a giant, I can hear it in the rod. Like you can hear just the way the rod and the line load up against each other. It's definitely got a different tone to it because it's almost always like a mega hook set from us. And you can just tell. Like, I don't know how to explain it.
It's almost just like
it's like a thud.
Yeah.
But it hits the whole rod, like from the friggin' reel seat to the rod tip. It's like a solid, different kind of thud. There is a video I uploaded. I think I call it Best Day of Smallmouth Fishing Ever or something like that. Or at least that's what it says on the thumbnail. And actually, that might be gone for reasons. But there was one I caught. It was a smallmouth. And it was just a crazy moving bait bite day. And it was 4.75, and I set the hook on. It was a 7.3 extra heavy fast rod, and you can just hear the whole thing. Like literally, it just goes thud instead of like hearing the line twang. And you can hear my buddy Rafter in the background just go ooh. That's what it sounds like. It's not line. It's not a twang. It is just a thud because you load up from reel seat through every single guide, and. Yeah, that's like I was down because I was working on my own bait, and all of a sudden I just heard thud, and I'm like, "Yup." I got up, I got the net, and then he's screaming because he saw the fish jump, and I didn't.
I saw, and I was like, "Dude, that's got to be bigger. That's got to be another 5. It's another 5."
5.75.
Yeah.
So right, we took way too long on this, but there's two last things I want to just very very quickly recap. Like all in all, great quality weekend. Champlain was a bit of a disappointment, but fishing an area I knew nothing about, was still trying to learn, and the wind was making it way too difficult for my boat and 4 people. So
the water being down like 4 feet.
Yeah, very, very limited on where we could go. Last 3 days were phenomenal. Andrew had a 6.3. We had 3 over 5. I think we had 4 over 4. I couldn't even begin to tell you how many mid to high 3s we had, and then like tons and tons of 2s. Very minimal rats. Yeah, it was crazy. It was funny because even Dean at one point was like we catch ones about 3 pounds. Like, oh yeah, we throw it back. He's like, what the hell?
But just not fun anymore. They gotta get bigger.
Let me go back 1 second here before you got one last story to tell, and then we're legitimately diving into this. Kyle, the jackhammers in Florida fast. Interesting. What's going on, Eric? Diehard Anglers, Ridge, and Diehard Anglers again. Line singing. Yes, sir. You know what's up. All right, tell them really quick about the smallmouth that I netted.
So I hooked into a smallmouth. He had just lost like a 4+ pound smallie.
Literally the only fish I broke off all weekend.
Yeah, and
I saw it jump. That's how we knew how big it was, because I looked over and that big fat blubbery thing came up through my jig. I'm like, well,
it was big.
That sucks.
And so where he had cast, there was kind of like grass on each side, and there was like kind of rocky, kind of sandy.
Yep.
It drops off this bank that goes down to like 65 feet. And I was like, yeah, I'll try it. Might as well. I bombed one out there, letting it sit for a little bit, just drag, pause, drag, pause. And all of a sudden it was like, dun, dun. I'm like, oh, there's one. Set the hook. He comes out. Did it jump? I don't remember if it jumped.
It tail walked, and I got a decent good look at it. So I was like, oh, it's a pretty good fish. Like I figured it was good quality, but that was the best I could say about it. I didn't get to see how big. I just knew I was like, okay, that we'll probably net that one.
So it came up right next to it. It dove down, and then it started coming right back up next to the boat, like 3 feet from the boat. But like it was like, feet, this is the boat. It was like kind of coming out this way, so it would have been jumping away from the boat. When its head was about that far out of the water, it was shaking already. It spit the jig. He didn't even see it spit the jig. And me and Dean were like, no! And it jumped probably 2 feet out of the water, and Sean just fully extended net all the way out, and it just bounces off the rim of the net into it. And me and Dean were like, yeah!
They're screaming.
And he's just like, what?
Zero clue. I just thought they were excited because like I got the freaking fish in the net in one shot. And I'm like, hell yeah, that was great. And I'm picking up, and Andrew's like already wrapping around, like, oh, I love you so much, hugging me. I'm like, what the hell happened? And then they told me that. I was like, oh.
That was the coolest thing ever. That was so sick.
So, all right, we ended up spending like 15 minutes on what should have been a 5-minute segment, but you know what? It was a phenomenal weekend. Again, we couldn't have done this without you guys, so thank you for everything you've done that got us to this point that we had that opportunity to go do that. Big thank you to Dean for being an amazing guest for our first ever like proper guided trip. And some lessons learned. There's some things that I do wish I had done a little bit better with, but like all in all, I don't like no regrets from the trip. Everybody had a great time. We all fished. Dean caught a lot of fish, including 2 fish that like by more than a pound beat his previous PB. I took away some good lessons learned with no regrets from it, so it was just nothing but a positive experience, and I look forward to doing it again. So for those that are interested, we are doing more guided trips in Vermont and definitely into Massachusetts, like for anybody that wants to get out in that late winter bite, like December, probably January, February. Like
dress warm.
Dress very warm. Bring your ice fishing gear, because we're going out, and we're going to open up a lot more days for people to join us. One last comment. We're going into it. TV18 fished an area on Friday 4 to 12, 45 smallmouth between there and that island. Your truck was at the ramp when I saw you guys. Lots of 3s and 4s. Damn, dude, that's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah.
That was wait, at the ramp. Which
ramp were we at?
Oh, on Friday. Oh, Friday. So that was the last day we were guiding with the kids, and the camp 7:30 to 12:30 in the morning to the afternoon, then there's a long break, and then we pick them back up at 5:30 and fish till like 8:30. And the second day, we dropped the kids off in the dock and just ran right back up and fished the northern end a little bit. And we were all over that place, and like we didn't really fish inside that area that you did TV18. There was a lot of boats going on, like we fished around the bridge and stuff, and then I like that whole time I was hell bent on trying to get a deep water bite that just never panned out until literally like I'd pulled the trolling motor up and I just bombed my drop shot, and I kept saying to him, probably for the 100th time at this point, I don't understand why this deep smallie bite won't go off. Why can't I feel my drop shot? Oh, Jesus Christ. It ended up being the biggest smallmouth I caught all weekend. So there's that. All right. We have a lot to discuss, and we've already burned up half an hour. Very sorry. Let's go. Hey, Chris, how you doing? Well, I will give you guys the option, because this took longer than I thought. We'll give us a minute for you to get some feedback. Do you want us to start with largemouth or smallmouth, and do you want us to start with shallow water or deeper water? Because we can literally cover it all. Largemouth. If you want to talk about largemouth and shallow water, I mean, we can easily do that. That's something obviously we just did a lot of this weekend, and something that we are by far more well-versed in. That's not to say we're not well-versed in everything else we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about areas to fish, techniques, baits, and the most important thing I can say, the choices that we're going to say are best for us, not everybody. So let's keep that in perspective in mind, please. One of the videos we had done not too long ago, people were like, oh, I can't believe you didn't say this is one of the best baits for that time of the year or whatever you're talking about. I was like, yeah, for like other people, but not for us. And I try to make a point to cover that distinction. So I like to reiterate it, because I don't want people to think like, oh my God, he has no clue what he's talking about because he didn't talk about the best bait. Well, yeah, there's a couple of things I know are phenomenal for different times of the year, but I don't have any confidence in it, and we don't need to, because there's plenty of other things that we just hammer them on. So there's that. All right, so we got South Jersey, largemouth, shallow water. Kyle wants smallies. Ben wants big smallies. Jim wants smallies, deep and shallow. So shallow is going to be a much smaller topic for smallmouth for this time of the year, because I feel like that's an outlier, but we'll see. Kyle just got back to New Hampshire yesterday from a 7-month cross-country trip, kayak bass. Holy crap, man, that's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Eric, that's all you ever want is shallow as largies. Dude, when we take you fishing, I'm just going to I'm going to have you roll up to a lake, and I'm going to be like, guess what? There's literally no largemouth here. We're fishing for smallies, and they're all deeper than 20 feet. You're going to get a nosebleed. South Jersey, spot on, man. Sometimes other people's best baits can be your shittiest bait. Mm-hmm. All right, we got a lot more comments for deep smallies, so let's do that first. Page 2, smallmouth. See, look, I came prepared, my man.
Hello.
I came prepared. Deep smallmouth.
How deep?
Okay, so obviously deep is a relative term, right? It totally depends upon the body of water. But if we're talking about the north, not
Average,
just New England or the
25,
Northeast,
35?
I would say 25 feet deep and deeper would be deep, in my opinion. for most people. And that's the thing that's kind of tough when we're talking about things like this. Like, my opinion of what deep has greatly changed, and it gets deeper and deeper every year. 5 years ago, if you would ask me what deep was, I would have said 20 feet.
Like, deep is like 60 plus.
Yeah, like, yeah, that's like my deep thing now. Like, okay, you want to talk deep? Okay, now I'm going to start looking in 65 to 75 feet of water. To me, that's really, really deep now. But that's the progression of where we've been at. I'm not, go fish really deep water. It's just trying to keep it all in perspective. So we'll say deep is anything in 25 feet or greater. This would probably be much more applicable to a lot more like glacial type lakes that have like truly deep water, like 100 plus feet, or even just 80 plus feet. And when we're talking deep water, we're also going to talk about in the sense of, we'll say that there is a large area of the lake that is 50 plus feet or deeper. Not that you're going to be fishing out there all the time, but that it offers that kind of depth, because that's important when talking about summer smallmouth fishing in deep water. There is a large period where they're going to be bottom feeding out in that deep water, and then they're going to shift. We'll say if their deep area is 35 feet right now, they're going to stay at that 25 to 35 feet and just shift out and stay in that depth out over open water.
They'll be up over 200 feet of water, just roaming around.
They become pelagic, I think is the term, where they're really just honed in on feeding on bait fish. That bait fish likes to feed around the thermocline. So that's our starting point. We've already started at this point. So if we're talking deep water smallmouth, I will start with this. There's two different times of the year when it comes to deep water smallmouth when you're talking about how they relate to structure. Right now, we're kind of towing the line, depending upon where you go, where they're still either bottom feeding or they're getting ready to start moving into that suspended summer pattern. And that is where it starts to get much, much more difficult, because they become much harder to find. When they become in that deep suspended period, they can be literally anywhere. And who the hell knows? But right now, it seems like everything's behind. So I think that for the most part, there's still plenty of places you can fish, find solid bottom structure, and target that specifically, because they're still holding to that. So it makes it a little bit easier. If we're talking deep, in my opinion, for what I think is going on right now, what we've seen from where I fished Winnipesaukee a few weeks ago to kind of what we saw up in Vermont this week, and actually another smallmouth only lake we fished in New Hampshire 2 weeks ago. So really over the last 3 weeks, 25 to 35 feet. That's deep that we're talking about. And that's in bodies of water that offer water much deeper than that over an extended area. It's not just a hole. You're talking multiple dozens or hundreds of acres that offer 50 plus feet of water. Rock piles, steep transitions, steep banks, edge of grass if you can find it, and especially near steep banks. Those are all your best friends right now. But if you're talking glacier lakes, those tend to just be sand and rock. So finding hard structure in the form of very definitive rock piles is your go-to. Secondary to that, because it's a little bit harder to find without some form of electronics other than just your standard 2D downward sonar. You need side imaging or 360 or down imaging, and constantly going around, is finding that transition of differences in bottom composition. Sand to rock. And it can be fist size riprap. It doesn't have to be boulders. It can just be little rocks like this big. And it's that transition from the clean sand to that. And it's that, I think, honestly, it's that difference in the color of the bottom that they hide in. And the reason I say that is because we've seen that in really, really shallow water.
Shallow, sandy flats with that grass and leaves and just stuff that gets built up over time from the current and wind blowing stuff in. Those little shallow patches can be this big, or they could be the size of a football field.
Yep.
And they'll hang out all inside of that.
I would
shallow. That's shallow though.
Very, very shallow. So I would say that is by far, from a general perspective, the best way to go. What am I? Oh, Carla, thank you very much for the donation. Appreciate you. Does that
Thanks, Mom.
donation also come with a donation of cookies and brownies? I'm asking for my very fat friend, me.
And your son.
So I will reiterate it again because I want to make it very clear what I'm talking about. When you're targeting deep smallies, in our opinion right now, 25 to 35 feet is kind of the magic number. You can even look, sometimes it can expand upwards like 20-ish feet to like 40 to 45. It really depends on where you're finding that good structure and what kind of body of water you're fishing in. And expanding on that a little bit, deep water for some lakes may only be 10 to 20 feet because the deepest point of the lake is like, say, 30 or 35. So you're kind of focused. Yeah, that's it. If I say any more, I'm going to confuse the matter. So really deep lakes that offer a ton of water over 50, 60 feet, 25 to 35 feet. If you're talking about lakes that like bottom out at 35 feet, like 15 to 25 is maybe your area where you should be focusing. Or even
just the bottom on 35 feet.
Yep, absolutely. Depending upon what's out there. So that's what you're looking for when we're talking deep smallies in the summer. And that's like right now. You want to be looking for not only structure, but bait fish. This is the other second most important thing when you're talking about summer smallmouth. For me, I find they definitely hone in on bait fish. They're not always in the bait fish. You might never mark a single smallmouth and start catching them when all you're doing is marking bait. Sometimes they're right in on the school. Sometimes they're roaming 50 feet outside of it. Keep that in mind. I will say it again. Just because you're marking bait and not marking bass does not mean the bass are not there. They can and very likely are. They're just roaming on the outside edges. As long as you're finding bait, there's very high likelihood that there's going to be bass around it. And if you're not getting bit and you're around like a million bait balls of fish, move. Because sometimes they won't be around those. But it's more unlikely that that's going to be the case. So give it time. Don't just spend like 5 minutes on a bait ball and like, oh, there's nothing here and roam. You know, you got to be able to change up your baits, and that's the next thing we're going to talk about. But hopefully we've reiterated that enough for like what you're talking about for deep water and what you're looking for.
If you find a big ball of bait and you're not catching fish on it, go away for like an hour and come back. That bait should still be in that area, and those bass will move from bait ball to bait ball in a certain area of the lake.
Spot on. Ooh, thank you, Carla. She's baking Friday.
So am I. Thanks, Mom.
So
you want to bake together?
There's that. I'm starting to see some questions come in. So let's talk about baits because this is. Well, sorry, I got to continue on. So that's like right now where they're relating to the bottom. They're working around structure. Now, if they move out and now they're in suspended mode, this is the other half of that summer bass fishing period. It becomes a lot more difficult. And that's like, for me, this is the most critical time that you need to have some form of electronics, because how else are you going to know where to fish in, say, 60 feet of water when the fish are literally just roaming between 25 and, say, 40 feet? And you have no idea because they're just roaming. It's not like you can just, at least, okay, I know there's a rock pile there and I'll fish all around and hope for the best. It could be anywhere. You could be 50 feet off of a steep bank, you know, where all that juicy structure is exactly in that 25 to 35 foot range. But then you move out 50 to 100 feet and now you're over 60 to 80 feet of water. That thermocline is settled down, say about 40 feet. All the bait are down there and the smallmouth are kind of working around that. You would not know that if you had no way to at least identify it in some way, shape, or form. You do not need crazy good electronics for this. The most basic 2D sonar will let you mark fish. And if you don't know how to read that, let us know. We'll do a video on that. I have done a couple of videos on it, but we will reiterate what it is you're looking for. And you just need like one or two visual confirmations, and then there's a couple of different ways you can go about catching them.
Or you could just go out there with like an Okashira and just bomb it around all day and hope for the best.
Fan cast,
just
yeah.
Count down 8 to 10 seconds, 8 to 15 seconds, and then just slow roll it back.
And just
with the spy bait too.
Yep, and just keep adjusting your depth from there. Like if you're, say you're slow rolling that bait in 15 feet deep and you're not getting bit after like 20, 30 minutes, but you have a high degree of confidence, whether it be history or somebody told you about the area, whatever, and they're not biting it, drop it down another 10 feet or even 5, 10 feet. Doesn't matter. Somewhere in there. Go 20 feet, go to 25 feet and keep working different depths because sometimes they don't want to come up as far to chase a bait as other days. Keep that in mind. So best baits to cover both things. This is something I really want to cover, but let's go to the comments really quick because these are on relation to what we just talked about for where we're finding them. There we go. Keith, hey buddy, how you doing, friend? 25 feet was a sweet spot during the heat wave for us. Even fan casting pulled them in. Exactly, love it. Diehard anglers, what do you consider deep? Again, we just covered that. I saw the comments, so I was trying to elaborate on it as it came through. But to reiterate, if you get a lot of really deep water, 25 to 35 feet, like right now, when they move out deeper in that suspended time of the year, I'll be out in 65 feet of water. The smallmouth aren't that deep all the time. They like to suspend 25 to 35 feet down, but they'll be over deep water like that because, especially if they're chasing smelt, the smelt like to go really deep, and they'll just be over it.
We had a buddy on here saying that he was in 120 feet, catching him out of 35 feet with a Demiki, I believe. I mean, they'll... Jake?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's still... Just because you can be in 200-300 feet if the lake's that deep, doesn't mean they're going to be down that deep. They'll still be hanging around that thermocline, following that bait in 30 feet.
Yep. And I will say, to expand upon that, there are other areas in the state that we fish where I mean, especially even last year and the year before, where I've been out over 65 feet, but it's structure. The fish aren't down there, but the bait fish are. So depending upon how you're targeting smallies and what they're specifically feeding on, even though they're not in that structure, if that structure provides cover for the bait that the smallmouth are honing in on, that can lead you to more success than just like aimlessly going around the lake. So that's something to keep in mind. Jim had a good question. Thoughts on light being able to reach depths and thermocline limiting depth? I don't give too much thought to light, I guess, being able to reach certain depths. I know what colors work depending upon what I'm going after. When you're talking smelt, I've got like one of 5 different colors that are kind of all along that smelty kind of color pattern. And man, I really haven't found any consistency to say like, oh, okay, on cloudy days, I always want to throw one of these 2 baits. Or on sunny days, I always want to throw one of these 2 baits. It's like, I'm going for smallmouth and I'm going to drop 8 different baits until I figure out which one they want to bite. And in the exact same conditions on a different day, it can change. Even in the day where the conditions stay drastically consistent, and I'm still chasing just fish feeding on smelt, I'll go from one school that wants like say the Magic Flick from Beast Coast in Bankroll, and then I'll go to the next school and they won't touch it, and I'll fish that for 20 minutes where I'm like, okay, screw this, and I'll pick up the Truth from again the Magic Flick from Beast Coast. And they'll start hammering that like it's the greatest meal they've ever seen in their life. Mm-hmm. Smallmouth are very fickle creatures. So, and then thermocline limiting depth, I'm not really sure how I want to elaborate on that yet. So we'll circle back. Keith, I bring my Striker 4+. I use ice fishing, and it shows me everything I need to know within the A-frame. Bingo. That is a $200 or $250 graph with transducer. You can just drop it right over the side of any boat, and it shows you everything you need to know minus a map. That's all you need. Just like literally any kind of feedback is all you need. It's great. Hey Nick, how you doing, buddy? I saw another one that I meant to. Nope. Okay, we got everything. So we covered what we're looking for. Let's cover baits / techniques. Let's start with techniques first. Number 1, drop shot. You can make that work in almost every single condition. The only thing I play around with is my weight. Depending upon, obviously, wind can be a pain in the butt. Sometimes having a heavy weight to get you really down really deep is nice and convenient.
Sometimes it's not.
It will hurt you.
Sometimes they'll hit. Sometimes they're hitting it on the fall, and you don't know that because you're not catching fish.
Yep.
Because you're going right by them.
And a lot of that from lessons learned has not only been from people saying that they've had that same experiences, but literally seeing on the graph. Like, oh, there's a fish down there, and you'll drop down, straight down at, say, we're in 40 feet with a drop shot, and I can see it racing down, and all of a sudden a boomerang comes in at, like, the 20-foot mark and only goes down 5 feet before immediately rocking it back up. It's like, well, damn. Well, missed that fish. Because he was like, yeah, no. And it just takes off. So for me, at least, drop shot is my number 1. You're next. If we're talking deep smallies, aside from drop shot, and yes, on structure, before we go suspended mode.
Oh, I'll throw a jig. I'll start off with a jig all day.
My man.
Or tube.
Tube is my second. I really like a jig, don't get me wrong, but if I'm strictly going for smallmouth, I'm going to go drop shot and tube before I go jig. But I always have a jig tied on.
I always have a jig tied on. And that's usually what I always start with. That's what I have the most confidence with, and that's just what I like to catch fish on.
But you need to elaborate on what kind of jig.
What kind of jig?
Because there's too many.
Sniper. Half-ounce football head with usually starting with, if we're going for smallmouth, I'm going with like a short, fat profile. And usually something more natural color, like browns and blacks. And with a lot of action in the trailer.
Yes.
That good?
See, puppy.
I just told you what I catch all my fish on.
I gave you my top two. What's your top two? Jig and what? Oh, you said tube. You did give your top two.
Yeah, I don't really throw tube that much, but that's what I would throw if I wasn't throwing. If they weren't biting the jig, I would go with go for the tube. Or, yeah, I'd have to say tube.
All right. I'm going to elaborate a little bit on the jig. So open water sniper has been phenomenal. You can throw, any football jig really, but the benefit of the sniper is it only has a 2-aught hook. So you can get away with smaller trailers on it if you want. You don't have to fish a bigger trailer. So say the claws stick out past the bend in the hook shank. So that's a big reason. If you don't have them, you don't need it. You can fish any football jig with a 3-aught or 4-aught. If you're going smallies, a 5-aught hook on a jig.
Maybe a little big.
Little big, because now you have to fish like a big trailer, and it might be a little too big. If you're fishing open water, rip that brush guard out. You don't need it.
That's literally what I was doing. When we started running out open water snipers, I started grabbing the Strike King football head. I don't know what the name of it is.
It's tour grade football head. That's all it is.
Yeah, and it's a
half ounce.
It's a half ounce, but is it a 2-aught hook or 3-aught hook?
On those are 4-aught.
Is it really?
Oh yeah. It's either 3 or 4, but I think it's a 4 on the tour grades.
Yeah, and I just ripped that brush guard right. I cut the brush guard right off of it and doing the same thing that we were doing all day, all weekend, all week.
Yep, and then trimming the skirt down too. So the open water sniper is a little bit shorter skirt. It's a finesse presentation. So because I was getting bit, we're running low. And I said to Andrew, I was like, maybe we need to trim it down too to match it. So we held the 2 up, and sure enough, it's a good half an inch or a little bit more longer than the sniper. So we just line it up and
I started cutting. I started off by cutting like a half inch off, and I wasn't getting like quarter to a half inch off around the whole thing. Just wasn't really getting bit that much. So the next jig after I lost one, I took like a good inch off, and I shortened the trailer up a little more, just so it was real short but real fat presentation. And they started loving that.
Yep. So, and then also on that same line, spider jig, which is a twin-tailed hula grub, just on a football jig. And that's like the open water sniper with like a twin-tailed grub is basically like a bulkier version of a spider jig. Mm-hmm. So there's that to consider. But like those are all my go-tos. And then Ned Rig, you can't go wrong. But those, like, that's pretty much the gist of it. So drop shot, jig, tube, Ned Rig, spider jig. Those are all our good, like, go-to bottom contact baits if we're really focused on structure. Hella Bass, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for joining, friend. I think that covers it. So, before we go into the open water stuff, there are other things that you can do. Just because they're on the bottom doesn't mean you have to catch them on the bottom. But if you're strictly fishing on the bottom, those are our go-tos. Now, crossing, what?
Let's say Carolina rig too.
And Carolina rig, yes, thank you. I don't like throwing that in the rocks too much. If there's like some vegetation around, absolutely I'm throwing a Carolina rig every time. And then striking rage craw, Beast Coast flipping delight, just a 5-inch lizard, like anything like that, smallmouth love. And I just keep the colors very, very natural. TV18, thank you. A swing head jig also works incredibly well. Shaky head, deep, diehard anglers, thank you. That's also very good. I just don't throw it as often as I used to for no reason. Just other things I've been throwing more often. I only have so many rods. So now going in the other direction, we're talking about suspended bass. What crosses those bridges that we haven't even remotely talked about yet? Topwater. You should always, always, always be throwing topwater. Smallmouth would come from 25 and even 30 feet down, straight up, and destroy topwater. So if conditions are ripe and you've got confidence in it, you should always have topwater tied on. poppers, walking baits, even whopper ploppers I've done pretty well with over deep water, but that's limited. That's definitely not going to be my first choice. Something slower makes a lot of ruckus, even when moving slow. I mean, you can do wake baits, like any of that stuff works. Now let's go to the other side of the summer deep smallmouth, suspended smallmouth. This is where it gets a little bit more tricky. Okashira. So Mega Bass, Okashira screwhead jig, I think is the whole name for it. Again, from Mega Bass. It's like a small swim jig. It's a stout hook. I might have one over there, but it's got a propeller on the front, right behind the head. But it's an imbalanced propeller. So you got a spy bait, which is like a hard bait. It's like a half ounce to 2 3/4 inches, and it's got 2 propellers, front and back. But those are dead even. There you go. Spy bait.
Prop on the front.
They're proportionate.
Prop on the back.
Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. Proportionate. And so both blades are same cut, same style, same bend, size, shape, the whole 9 yards. On an Okashira, each blade is slightly different.
Can't see that.
So when it falls, what I've seen with at least the trailers that I throw, it actually almost falls like a tube where it kind of wants the corkscrew.
It kind of does
and
like
it wobbles
this on the way down.
Yep.
Kind of like spirals, kind of.
So incredibly deadly on the fall, and then swimming it, it's like a soft body version of the swim bait. So now you can throw whatever you want for there. Or sorry, as a spy bait, you can throw whatever you want for a trailer on there. You can play with a bunch of different swim bait trailers, and it's really kind of hard to go wrong with anything as long as it's not like overly huge. Like I wouldn't throw, say, a 4.8 inch Kitech swing impact fat on that because there would be like no hook left. Other than that, as long as you've got plenty of hook between the body and, you know, what is left of the exposed hook, you can, whatever your imagination has, man, you can throw anything you want on that. It is a phenomenal jig. Catch them in the fall. You can just straight swim it. You can bottom bounce it like you're working a blade bait, you know, like let it hit the bottom and just kind of like lift and let it fall down and lift, like you're kind of yo-yoing it back. I've had killer days doing that. That's like one of our go-tos for suspended fish.
I think
spy bait is becoming your new favorite.
Yeah, spy bait is definitely my new favorite suspended smallmouth bait. It's just, it's the coolest bite. Like, I mean, same with Okashira, but I don't know. I just like having that.
I think they hit that harder.
Oh, dude, they absolutely smoked this thing. I caught one on Champlain. I think was it the last full day we had
for the first 4 days.
Oh no, yeah.
Oh no, was it this trip?
This trip.
Yeah. No, it was Friday afternoon. We were fishing solo before we had to pick the kids back up in the afternoon, and we were working a point. And he was throwing that, not even 5 minutes. All of a sudden, I just hear, got one, and his rod's bent way over.
Right over. And this thing, oh, man. And these hooks, this is the Realist, I think?
Yeah, the Realist.
Spin bait 80. So just spy bait. I counted down, we were in, I think, 14 feet. Maybe even a little deeper than that. But I counted it down
14 to 20.
5 or 6 seconds.
Have a good night, Hail Bass.
And just slow roll this thing just to keep it down. And it came, that fish absolutely destroyed that thing, and it was the best. I love the spy bait bite. Oh, God.
It's fun.
I'll never get over it.
I'm seeing a lot of good questions. We're going to get through the baits and techniques really quick, and then we'll circle back to that. So now we're talking again, suspended bass for that deep summer pattern. So we said Okashira / spy bait, Damiki rig. I did a video on this late last year, and like everything I said about it still applies. That just kills them. But for me, I find it is insanely critical. If there's any one bait I've ever fished where you need some form of graphs, like electronics, to be able to see your fish and see your bait, it's for a Damiki. Not to say it's absolutely necessary, but I honestly cannot imagine trying to do this with the confidence that I have without having even the most basic sonar so I can see my bait and my fish. And a big reason of that is like dead of summer, when the water's the hottest, all the way through till we are fishing in 37-degree water. Those fish will look at it repeatedly before they will bite it.
It's like going ice fishing at a new pond that you've never been to, and just who knows if they're there if you don't have a graph. Like,
right, seriously. And oftentimes too, like if you're marking fish, but all of a sudden, like, I don't know, say you pull your trolling motor, you're trying to pull up your rod, and a fish just, boomerang comes in, hits the graph, and is gone. drop it down anyway. If you're marking multiple fish in an area, that bait, even falling in a 3/8 ounce head, which is kind of on the heavy side when you're talking finesse stuff, like it'll get down only 10 feet and all of a sudden you'll see a boomerang coming up from even 35 feet down, 45 feet down in some places we're fishing in Vermont, like when they're down there. And just be patient with it. Honestly, you got to go watch the video. If that's something that really piques your interest and you want to do it, I won't elaborate on it anymore now. Just go watch the other video that we did. I made it really, really short. I think it's only 4 minutes. I explained everything there.
Mickey's cool.
Deadly for suspended fish.
It's a cool way to catch fish.
Yep. Underspins. So swim jig head, little underspin blade. You throw a swim bait on it. Count it down to whatever depth you want. Roughly 1 second of free fall is 1 foot that it falls. And that will vary depending upon how heavy or light your jig head is. But
or what bait you have on there, what trailer you have on there.
Yep. But, I mean, if you have a graph, you can literally just free spool it and count and see how far it goes. Count for 10 seconds, see how far it went, do the math. Okay, you know how far it went. And then that gives you a better average versus trying to see, like, how far did it fall for exactly 1 second? No. Go.
Easy way to do it, the way I kind of figured it out, is you take your bait with your rod and say you have a 7 foot rod. You bring it down about from the tip of your rod all the way down, you pull the bait down to where it would be about 10 feet, and you swing it out and you drop it down, and that's 10 feet. You count that down.
Yep, and it'll stop right there. Mm-hmm. Top water again, but like there's so many other baits that you can do, but like those are all of our go-tos. So to recap, summer smallmouth, deep water, they're in suspended mode. Try a drop shot, but I found that doesn't really, they don't like it. They get thrown off by the weight sitting down there, so wouldn't really recommend it. Honorable mention to a very, very light Ned Rig, because they will just eat that on the fall. Mm-hmm. You can also demiki a Ned Rig, so you can bank on you can try and get them to eat on the fall, or you can just kill it when it gets down to a certain depth and just hold it. As long as that bait is sitting nearly, like, flat, perpendicular in the water column, they'll come up and eat it, even a stupid little stick bait. So demiki rig, okashira with a swim bait on it, underspin, just a regular swim jig head with a swim bait on it, stuff that you can just slowly, steady retrieve. You can do deep diving crankbaits. Is another honorable mention. You
can do a little ball head.
Yep, ball head, swim it.
Yeah, ball head with a little swim bait on it.
You can do a bunch of different things, but those are all great, and it covers a lot. So you got a lot of moving baits. You can do top water, and then you've got like your dead sticking finesse stuff, which can be a Ned Rig, which you're mostly relying on the fall into a demiki position, or just a straight up demiki rig that you can drop to them. One thing I will say, go watch the video. Really, seriously, go watch the video if you want to do this. But don't drop a demiki to the fish. Stay above them. Go watch the video if you want to learn more. So going back to questions we saw, Footy Fan, fight or fly marabou jig for suspended smallies. That should be an honorable mention, and I wholeheartedly recommend it for the sake of I see everybody else doing it. It's not something we've done. It's something that I literally said to Andrew, I want to do that this whole weekend in Vermont. Guess where all of my hair jigs were? Right here at home. Because I forgot to bring them.
Right there.
Yeah, I forgot to bring them. But that was something I wanted to do this weekend because I know it works really well. Just something that we haven't done yet. So it's not in our rotation of baits that we have tried really other than winter. And when I was up on the St. Lawrence River last year.
I tried kind of a bunch for demiki.
You tried hard, but they weren't quite ready for that yet.
They weren't ready for it. It wasn't cold enough.
We tried it in multiple places too, by the way.
At least the way that I was fishing it, they weren't ready for it.
Yeah. So there's that. And then I saw JP. What size line do you guys like throwing that spy bait on? You first.
I throw mine on either 10 or 12. Floral.
Straight fluoro.
Straight fluoro.
I've done a bit of everything. I've thrown it straight 12-pound and 10-pound fluoro. I've thrown it on spinning rods with straight 10-pound and 12-pound, but I will tie on like a 40-foot long leader because I run braid on all my spinning reels. And then I've thrown on an 8-pound too. And that goes for my Okashira. My Okashira I've only thrown on 8-pound, and I've only thrown on spinning rods because it's so light. I like throwing a 16th-ounce head with like a 2.8-inch Kitech. Like that's my go-to, or a 3-inch Spark Shad. Like those are my two go-tos. And it's so damn light. Like
Spark Shad, yeah.
Yeah, you really, to throw something like that, a 1/16 ounce head with a 3-inch or smaller swim bait, you really need like a super finessey setup that's specifically intended to throw mega light shit in order to get a good cast out of it.
I mean, you have a custom rod built for it, so.
Not anymore. I did.
Oh, yeah.
It broke like 2 weeks into owning it. There's a defect with the blank. So it is what it is. That happens. No different than buying a rod off the shelf. Is there anything else you want us to cover specifically on that before we go to shallow water largemouth? It's already 9 o'clock. I want to make sure that we cover a bulk of both. And then we can go back and start filling in a lot of little things that we didn't get to touch on that are like, for lack of a better way to put it, more isolated things, but that have had enough repetition, they're worth talking about in and of themselves. So it's not like honorable mention stuff. It's like we saw this repeatedly, but it still isn't that common. So I don't want to give it the primary focus just yet. But on the topic of deep water smallies in the summer, what else did we not hit that you guys want us to cover? I'll give you guys a minute to do that. I'm going to get some water while you pay attention to the chat. Do you want anything while I'm up?
I am all set, sir.
Okay. Oh, I see a comment coming in. Damn.
What about time of day? For what? For the deep? Time of day. We usually don't start off too deep in the morning. The fish usually pull out earlier in the day, later on in the day, unless it's like the water's already like 90 degrees when we get there at 6 in the morning. Then we will start out somewhat deeper, but 90% of the time when we get there, we usually start up fishing the bank with jigs and tubes or top water, and then as soon as the sun is up and it's like 90 freaking degrees out and those fish have pulled way out and down in deep water, that's when we start to move out and start doing that open water, deep smallie bullshit. It's sometimes really hard to find them. I mean, we find the bait, but there could be 10 different schools in that one area that you're fishing of the lake, and that one area could be 100 acres, depending on the size of the lake, or it could be 2 acres, and there's just, it all depends on where and when you go. Okashira screw head blade or straight jig head.
You know what we didn't really talk about? We talked a lot about techniques, but we didn't really elaborate on baits.
On baits themselves?
For
like
smallmouth.
Specific baits?
Yeah, like there's a ton of different baits we could talk about. We only mentioned a few, so we should circle back on that after the questions. What have you hit? What have I missed?
Time of day.
Oh, Kyle. What about time of the day?
I already got it.
Okay. Oh, that was the last one you did?
Yep.
Okay. Jim B, Okashira screwhead, blade, or straight jig head. Either one. They're both great. I like the one with the blade because I feel like I can fish it a lot more versatile.
Okashira. I love that.
Swim it, bounce it,
I just like saying it.
Okashira. Nick, do you cut the weed guard off your jig in open water while fishing structure?
Absolutely.
Yep. Don't cut it. You just grab a pair of those pliers and like roll and pull. And you just pop the whole thing out. I will say, doing that on the Beast Coast Max fields are a little bit more difficult. Derek does not mess around when putting those brush guards in.
No, they're in and they're on.
They're in. They don't come out.
Cut them. If you have to.
Yeah. I was like, I think I had to rip on that thing 4 or 5 times before I finally got to pull out. And like, there was still 4 or 5 strands that I had to go back through and pick out individually.
You know what's funny? So I did cut that. I didn't even think about it until now. I was cutting on the Strike King jig head. Yeah. I was cutting the brush guard off, but I missed a couple, and they were maybe only about that long, but they were sharp. And I didn't catch a damn fish. Or even I got bit, but I didn't catch a fish until I cut the rest of it off.
No shit.
And next cast after I cut it off, I caught a fish. So that thing must have been poking them and pissing them off. So you got to make sure if you're cutting that brush guard off, cut it all the way down to the head of the jig.
Flush or pull it. All right, so real quick, last thing then for smallmouth is baits. We talked a lot about specific techniques. We mentioned some baits. We didn't really go into them in depth. We'll start with drop shot. Number one go-to is Magic Flick. Dude, we get bit on that literally everywhere in almost any conditions. If they're on a drop shot, they're 95% of the time, I can catch them with just the standard 3.65 or 3.5 inch Magic Flick. There is a point, though, especially right about now, they will not touch a 3.5-inch bait. They want a 5-inch, even on a drop shot for smallmouth. So secondary to that, reaction innovations flirt worm or a zoom finesse worm, like anything that's just a little trick worm that's 5 inches long. I keep my colors basic, green pumpkins, things with kind of like a green, black, and purple flake. Colors like morning dawn. I've started getting in my rotation more often.
Your best bet is to just, if you can't find any of the fancy baits, go get a pack of Robo Worms and just cut it off till you find a size that they like.
Yep, Robo Worms. Thank you. That's another great one. If we're talking about Tamiki Rig, again, Magic Flick, dude, that I'm not just saying it because they're my sponsor. I was fishing the shit out of all this stuff before they became a sponsor for both of us. The versatility in that bait is insane. There's other ways you can fish it that I'm not going to give up, but like
for what?
For how you can fish the Magic Flick. I've had subscribers tell me ways they're throwing it that I never would have even thought of, but makes perfect sense, and they kill it. Huh?
I've done some funky shit with that.
Yeah. You can use it as jig trailers, man. You can do just about anything with that. But for Tamiki Rig, Magic Flick in 3.5 or 3.65 is phenomenal. Tiny swim baits like the Mega Bass Haze Dong, I think it is. Yeah, Haze Dong. Those are good. Like anything along that, you can do little baby flukes, like the 2.5-inch flukes. You can do the Berkeley Gulp.
Swim baits? Little swim baits?
Yep. Swim baits, but you want something that's kind of stiff so it stands out straight. Like you don't want something that's kind of a droopy tail. Like you can't throw like a max scent flatworm because it's just going to fold over on itself. Unless you're constantly bouncing it, but don't do that with a Tamiki. You're honestly better off just dead sticking it more often than not. Ned Rig, Magic Flick again, works killer. You can do swim baits on it. Obviously, the Z-Man TRDs work good. If we're talking about Okashira, you prefer the 3-inch Spark Shads the most. Kitex work great. Like literally any like 2.5-inch to 4-inch swim bait. If you're going 4-inch, you want it to be a little slimmer, so you still have enough hook point on there.
Glue your damn baits.
Oh my God, yes. Loctite gel control glue is phenomenal.
Little dab. And that bait will stay on. Those little baits will stay on. If you don't put it on, you're going to be changing those baits. And you're going to just be wasting baits at that point.
Oh, yeah. You're going to get short struck, and it's going to get ripped in half. For jig trailers, oh, man. There is no shortage of it. Like, literally anything you can think of for a craw trailer. Or even, like, a flipping bait style trailer, like Flippin' Delight.
I use that as a jig trailer.
Phenomenal. Just trim it down a little bit if you're fishing a more finesse skirt.
Derek's bullshit,
or jig, like the sniper.
Do that.
Striking rage craw, again, just trim it down. Basically, you got the claws and the body. You just cut the body down a little shorter. You can do that with anything. It depends. Like, when you're talking about trimming down a trailer, I like to get it so that the bend in the hook point, right where it bottoms out and starts coming back up, comes out right where the fork and the legs are, or the claws, whatever it is you're throwing for a jig trailer. That's what we're trying to do most of the time. Doesn't have to be like that, but I find I get a lot more hookups having it that way. That was good. Excuse me.
Oh, right here.
And then these little guys we totally forgot to bring.
No, we didn't. Oh, these are the little ones.
Those are little ones. Those are the baby
brought...
magnet. Yeah, dude, trust me. I thought about it when we were there. I was like, well, that was stupid.
Well, I was just using an example to show where you throw the jig. Oh, dude, that's such a good idea. We should have brought these.
I know.
Whatever, it's all right.
I bought those for the Hustlers, too. Oh, by the way, honorable mention to the Beast Coast Hustler jig, too. Phenomenal big jig. Yeah. Smallies and largies, but deep water largies, or smallies.
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
It's
really good.
For shizzle. That hook point, you want to have the way we do it.
Turn it a little bit. There you go.
Comes pretty much right out there. Either down out of the face of that craw or like right through the forehead of it. Or actually, this one probably right through the eyes or right before them.
Yep.
Just so if that fish takes it and pulls, it's not going to completely rip it, like take everything. If you have the hook coming out here, all that will just get ripped right off and your bait will be gone.
Yep.
And it just helps with the profile of the bait.
All right, who wants to do a quick raffle? Here's the caveat. Waffle. We need to make more money. I feel bad saying this. I can't take a loss on what we raffle away. So there has to be enough interest in doing this. Whoever's interested, we can do. Tell you what, we'll put it this way: raffle either a hat or a T-shirt, your choice, one or the other, and tickets will be $3 each. Or we'll do both, but tickets will be $5 each. So we'll do it that way. If you guys are interested, we'll do it. Die Hard Anglers. Let me pin that really quick. I've used brush hogs for trailers. My man.
I've used almost every freaking soft plastic as a trailer on a jig, and I've caught fish on it.
Let me just 1 second.
Okay, I'll wait too. I have no idea what the hell he's doing. Oh, okay.
There you go. 1, 2.
We have 3 more over here. Oh, there's another one. We have 4 more bins over here.
Those 2.
And 2 more over here.
Those 2. That one. Yep, that one. And the next one. One more. That, my friends, each one of those is 6 quarts, 14 by 8 by 5 inch. It's the size of those bins. There's 5 of them. All of those are literally just jig trailers.
I like to throw jigs.
I like to throw a lot of jigs. If that doesn't help explain just how many different jig trailers we've tried and use on a regular basis more than anything, I would say this one right here is the only one that has, and it probably like half of it is stuff that's like we've tried but haven't really worked too well. We just haven't been really successful with it. But like literally everything else in here is all tried and true jig trailers. Different colors, different profiles, different action in the legs, different size in the legs. That's the only difference between all these. And almost everything in there, 90% of what you see in there is either green pumpkin or black of the blue flake. The only difference from there is overall length, leg style.
Joe.
Just keep showing, man.
I don't think there's any Guggen in here. Those aren't Guggen. Those are poor man.
Oh, the poor, yeah.
Poor boys.
Poor boy baits. Oh, we shouldn't have showed that. Well, you guys can figure it out.
My goodness.
So, yeah. There you go.
Good morning, Joe.
Joe, what's up? Oh, there he is. I was like, where are you talking about with Joe? How you doing, buddy? Eric, a takeoff. Ooh, here we go. I take off maybe like 1/4 of an inch, maybe a hair less. I feel like it gives my bait a better ratio, but I don't cut enough that it doesn't cover my hook. I like it. No, Joe, you don't see Guggen. Shut up. Joe, Sean's looking thin. Well, thanks. You know what? It's probably because during that 5 days, actually technically did 6 days. That's right. I had to think about this. 6 days. So the Wednesday, I worked. We left that night to go up to Champlain to meet you guys. And then until Monday. Yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 6 straight days. I only ate 5 meals total in 6 days.
I did not.
Felt pretty good when I got back.
Actually, there was a day I didn't eat a goddamn thing.
Yeah, that was a Friday. Neither one of us ate. He was hangry.
I was not happy.
But, yeah, it felt really good when I got back, kind of. There was Saturday and Sunday night, we ate our body weight McDonald's, so that didn't help.
Yes, it did. Help me.
Jim, it's hard to know if the trailer doesn't work or I haven't fished it long enough before trying another. Okay, so this is a good time to talk about that because next up we are going to talk about...
Oh, IHOP was so good, though. I should have brought the pancakes home.
Yeah, you should have. You done messed up.
I really needed that like 2 hours later.
That IHOP was delicious. I actually felt pretty good after that. All right, but Jim's question, when it comes to jig trailers, this is a good time to segue into the other half of this topic. We covered everything deep water, smallmouth, and let's talk about shallow water, largemouth. When it comes to jig trailers, I look for essentially 3 different actions, and that covers me literally from ice out to ice in. Zero action, like absolutely dead action trailers. Nothing to them. They don't kick for shit. They just fall and they stand straight. They do nothing. And it's just profile. That's one. Two, something with moderate amount of action. So that can be like net bait pack across, where they're still kind of straight legs. They don't really have like a lip to them, say like a striking rage crawl, but they still kind of flutter and dance on the fall, but not like wildly. It's a very subtle action. And then I want violent action. That's my step 3. That's what I usually throw this time of the year. And that's something like the Beast Coast Flippin' Delight or the Striking Rage Craw are my 2 go-tos. And there are other baits I've tried, but literally anything for a flipping profile now has been replaced by the Beast Coast Flippin' Delight because we have just been straight hammering fish on those. Mm-hmm. I am not exaggerating when I say how good of a job Derek did with those baits. Bravo, sir. So if you're fishing this right now, Jerry, we're getting there. If you're fishing right now, shallow water largies, I like violent action in my jig trailers. But I also like something that stands up really nice. So you could throw something like a twin tail grub, and those things kick and swim and flutter like mad when they fall. But then when they fall and hit the bottom, the legs curl right back up. They don't stand up straight. So I want something that has a lot of action, but then the appendages, whatever it is, if it's a craw or it's a flipping bait of any kind, they still stand straight up because I want that profile to stand up and present itself.
Like sitting in the grass like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah, pretty much. The action gets their eyes on it, and then the standing profile or the bait sticking straight up gives them the target to continue to go after and eat, because sometimes it's right out, like as soon as it hits the bottom on the fall, or they will nose up. I've seen bass, even in like on days where like straight hammering them, we'll see one up shallow, I'll sight fish it, and they'll come up and they'll nose down to it, and they'll kind of roll a little bit, and they'll keep eyeing it, and then all of a sudden they smoke it and they eat it. But I don't think that can happen if I didn't have a bait with the appendages that stuck straight up. So, Jim, there you go. I can elaborate probably a little bit more on that, but that should cover what you need to do. Start with something right now with a lot more violent action and play around with colors and size before you change the style. What other comments was there before we did it?
Stops in the first 2 hours.
Poor
Jesus,
Joe.
Dude.
Alec, Flippin' Delight is no joke. On the back of the little mag won me a tournament last week, and I saw that. Congrats again, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you guys want to do a raffle? All right, well, we will start talking about this. If you guys want to do a raffle, let's do it now. But I don't mind giving me a few days to get it. Yeah, fishing mode, we can do that, buddy. You just tell me how much you want. All right, let's do a quick raffle. So, you know what? Let's do it the cheaper way. We'll do a hat or a T-shirt, up to you, whoever the winner is, for what you guys want. We'll do the random drawing. It's 9:19. I'll give you till 9:30. We'll shut it off right there. So $3 per raffle ticket. Again, choice is yours. You can buy as many as you want. Just start sending it. So you can do it either here in chat on YouTube, or you can send it to Venmo or PayPal. Both of those are down in the video description below. But to make things easier for you, I'll go ahead and write in the chat right now. Venmo is and PayPal is bam.
Exo Muscleback. What is
and that? Pin. There you go. All right. So let's talk as much as we can in the next 11 minutes, so you guys can go ahead and get your buy-in for all the raffles and stuff, and then we'll go ahead and pick a random winner, and we'll be good. But I went ahead and I put it in the chat what the Venmo and PayPal is and pinned it, so it should be easy for you guys to find. Scott lost a brand new spinner. That sucks. Sorry, buddy. Oh, there you go. Joe, X-Zone Muscleback Finesse Crawl has that buoyancy. I like that. Die Hard. I use the Yamamoto Double Tails, Zoom Swim Chunks, Brush Hogs, Strike King Rage Crawl, J-Bros Lure Trifinities. Ooh, haven't heard of that one yet. Okay, so shallow water largemouth. Let's talk about location first. You want to start? I've talked a lot. You need to take over at some point.
Shallow water or largemouth?
Shallow summer pattern, shallow largemouth.
Third, boy.
Where do we start? Where do we like to start?
I either start flipping docks or hammering that grass, the grass lines, either inside grass line or outside grass line with a jig. Or I'll throw the glide.
No baits yet. Talking about location first. What do we like to
so-
look for first when we go out and target those?
We're going out specifically for shallow water largemouth. First thing in the morning, we're looking for anything with a lot of shade, or as the day's warming up, where we want to work that shade line. Anywhere where you got trees hanging over, or you got big thick grass next to docks where they can kind of tuck in underneath, get out of that sun, and those are just like the only spots that I like to fish for the shallow water largemouth. Or big lily pads, like big areas where there's a lot of grass, a lot of lily pads. We're throwing frogs. I'm kind of stumped on this one right now. Because that's like the only stuff that I kind of look for.
Did you receive? Sorry, I'm trying to like enter names as they're coming in, so I don't have to like do it all in one shot later.
We should get Jerry on for shallow water largemouth one time.
Well, we got to get Eric on too because he's like a shallow water guru. He's been dying to get on the show, so he's another guy we could have call in. You know, it'd be cool for doing that because we know so many guys are good at it. If we had like a rotation of guests, give everybody like 10 to 15 minutes. Because they're all really good at very specific things.
Eric, you got StreamYard?
Oh, he can get some up. As long as he got a cell phone, we can make it work. Okashira, what did Joe say? Okashira screwhead with cast 3-inch prodigy, 5 to 10 foot, lots of rocks, or shell and a little milfoil. Love it. We want Jerry, we want Eric. Sorry, you had said, because I was attending to this.
Shade lines.
Yep.
Grass, lily pads, docks. Anything that's pretty much going to cast a shadow where they can get up into the shade.
Thick lily pads, even in a half a foot of water, will hold them all summer long.
I mean, if there's trees overhanging water that's only 6 inches deep, they'll be up in there. I've seen them in shallow water on the bank, in the shade with their backs out of the water.
Yep.
Like that shallow.
It's nutty. So, in short, to recap what he said, vegetation is by far our best structure that we focus on when it comes to summer bass up shallow. I don't like fishing pads as much, which I know is going to sound crazy. I do enjoy it, but I also feel it's a little bit more limiting in what I can do, and I don't always need to do it to be successful. There's plenty of other times where you can go offshore. There's what are you laughing at? Great tip.
Joe.
No?
Just talking shit.
There's plenty of days where we end up doing better offshore in grass, and offshore is very, very broad. There's plenty of lakes we fish where like there's really good vegetation from the bank out to say 30 feet off the bank, and we're fishing that outside grass line. And to me, that's kind of offshore because at the end of that grass line, there's literally nothing because it comes out into what is essentially like the beginning of the middle of the open part of the lake. Then there's other places that we fished where there is phenomenal deeper vegetation. Even down to 25 feet, we were catching incredible largemouth last year, the year before.
Just, like sparse patches of thick grass all over the place, all over the bottom of this lake.
Yep.
We're pitching pretty much right on the edge of it.
If you're fishing, it doesn't matter, deep or shallow. If you're fishing lots of vegetation, if it's wicked thick, we do a lot better fishing the outside edges. And that, I mean, literally just the outside. Some days it's all up shallow. It's on the sides, like kind of in the middle from deep, shallow to deep. Sometimes it's just on the outside deep edge.
Sometimes it's on the sunny side. Sometimes it's on the shady side, depending on where the sun is. That can make a difference sometimes.
For like the thickest, densest submerged vegetation, we'll call it. If it's sporadic vegetation, I do a lot better fishing inside of it. And again, specifically for largemouth. If it's really thick vegetation like milfoil, bit of both. If you're fishing things like milfoil, this is where it becomes a little bit more difficult because if you can't see what's down there, if you're not in the lake early or late in the year, so you can see where like the harder bottom is, like if you find nice clean sand, hard packed bottom in the middle of that, that's like the money spots when fishing milfoil specifically. It works just as well for plenty of other vegetation spots, but I found for milfoil specifically, like those are the areas we like to hone in on. And then attacking all of that, depending upon what you're doing, it's a multi-pronged attack method. You need to have something that's really, really good for working the outside edges, but is also just as effective as working in the middle of that thick crap. Jigs is obviously the go-to.
Yep.
Texas Rig is right behind it. Mm-hmm. And I've had days where they will bite both and they will only bite one or the other. And those are my go-tos. If you want to fish things that are moving, that's when it gets a little bit more difficult because thickness of the vegetation and type can really make that challenging. I'm getting really distracted by the chat.
Yeah, me too. I just keep reading. If you can't see where the bottom is, buy Mega 360.
Actually, Jerry, we haven't quite left the shallows yet. We actually did really, really well fishing. Well, shallow relative for these lakes. Strictly for largemouth, it's kind of weird because we've had like this crazy, prolonged, crappy spring, like late winter, early spring pattern where it just stayed cool and raw and like cloudy. And then we went straight into heat and drought. So a lot of that offshore grass hasn't developed. So our shallow water bite has been way better and more consistent and longer by this point of the year than previous years where like by this point we could move offshore. So
we're still working only. We're not even working that deep right now at all. We should be working in like anywhere from like 15 to 25, maybe 30 feet. But we're only working 10 to 15, maybe 20 feet at max.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is like way deeper than anything Jerry fishes.
Oh, yeah.
If you go deeper than 10 feet,
your
Florida,
lakes are like 4 feet deep.
Yeah.
How deep does Okeechobee get?
I think there's actually a couple of deep holes in Okeechobee, but I think for the most part, Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think for the most part, Okeechobee's like 8 feet or less for the vast majority of it, maybe 10 feet. Yeah, it's like stupidly shallow across like the whole thing. It's kind of weird.
I kind of want to go fishing. Jerry, next time I come down, I want to go fishing with you, all right? We were supposed to fish this past year, but we didn't.
Well, if not for the job issues I had at the end of last year where I couldn't take time off, I would have gone down.
I was already down there.
That was the beginning of the end for that job when they started limiting what I could do for my vacation time. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to go now.
Fuck
Bye,
work.
Felicia.
Fuck work.
Okay, so vegetation we talked about a lot. Secondary to that, rock piles tend to be hit or miss. Shallow, deep, doesn't really matter. I don't know, man. Like vegetation for me is much more consistent when it comes to largies than anything else. Especially when you're talking about fishing shallow. But we've had pretty good success fishing deeper rock piles. Deeper vegetation still tends to do better. I don't know what it is about veggies and largies, but they like it a lot better.
Veggies are green. Largies are green.
Sorry, Chad.
It's like
He said, hate you for leaving me. Okay, so let's talk about techniques for a few more minutes because raffle closes in. I'll give you guys 2 more minutes. It's 9:29. Technique. So I said jig, like football jig, an Arky style jig is phenomenal if you're fishing both vegetation and grass because it kind of stands, but not really. So it's so for rocks, but it slips through grass pretty well. Not as good as a swim jig, but it kind of stands and it likes to roll through rocks pretty well. It's like the jack of all trades jig that I like. If you're fishing just straight up open water, you're getting away from the veggies, football jigs, and this can just be like any style, like your standard jigs. If you're fishing thick, heavy grass, Little Magnum from Beast Coast is a finesse punching jig. It works phenomenal, slides through vegetation like nothing else. Swim jigs that are, like that bullet style head, also really, really good for slipping through. Texas rigs, craws, flipping baits. Oh my God. Like you can do so many different things.
So you can literally put any soft bait on a Texas rig and go fish grass with it and catch fish.
Yeah. Rim ditch, 30 feet, center lakes, 10 feet. Okay, I was kind of close. That's crazy though.
Rim ditch? The hell's a rim ditch? Just kidding.
So those are like your slip through cover, work the bottom baits, moving baits, spinner bait, bladed jigs, If you got really thick vegetation, swim jig. Play around with what you're doing for trailers. I like swim baits, but I've experimented with other baits. Doesn't have to be a swim bait. You could put on the back end of a lizard that's got a ribbon tail. Works great. You can put a flipping bait, turn it sideways. Craw, turn it sideways. Like, there is no limit to what you can put onto the back of a swim jig and work it through grass. Straight retrieve it, bounce it as you're going through. Like, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. It's great. I feel like there's 1,000 things we're getting. Oh my God, top water is phenomenal for shallow water largies, and there's so many different things you can do. Big boy swim baits.
Dude, the Robo Worm just... Sorry, I'm just agreeing with Joe.
What?
Robo Worm is just freaking awesome in the grass.
Shaky head. So yeah, Robo Worm on a shaky head is like one of the best things we've ever done when it comes to shallow water largemouth, and especially when you're talking like immediate post spawn. And it's one of those I never gave it. I never gave it thought as to why it works so well. It just works well. And we had Sharon on a couple of weeks ago, maybe like a month and a half ago now, and we brought that up. He's like, yeah, because when it's down there and it's shaking, it looks like a little bait fish just kind of feeding down off the bottom, and it just looks like a little tail swimming around. Spot on. Mm-hmm. It works phenomenal. And you can throw so many different things on that too. 5-inch Robo Worm or 5-inch Flirt Worm from Reaction Innovations, a Zoom Trick Worm, like all those work great. Like a 7 or 8-inch Trick Worm, like the Magnum Trick Worm, I think is what it is from Zoom. I've caught a lot of fish working that. What else are we missing? Carolina Rig. Carolina Rig for largemouth is like one of my favorite things to do.
It's so much fun.
And what you can throw on it is only limited by your imagination. Although I wouldn't do swim baits because it doesn't really do anything. Like Kitex, they just kind of like fall over. They don't swim. Unless you're like swimming it, like using the weight to pull through the grass and you're just constantly moving it. But even still, without... Well, you can throw a really light head, like even like a 1/8 ounce ball jig on the front or like a 3/16 might help keep it. Yeah, but then you have to figure out a way. Yeah. Don't bother. You don't need to. There's plenty of other things you can do that swim. Man, rage cross, flipping baits, lizards, worms, anywhere from a 5-inch to a 12-inch friggin' ribbon tail worm. You can do whatever the hell you want for that.
Don't give away the sea rig. It just works.
Dude, and it's funny because like it used to be such a big thing that like everybody did. Now I feel like nobody talks about it the last few years.
I know. Like the last like 4 or 5 years, it feels like it's just kind of fallen off. Nobody does it.
No.
Or people throw and they're just not telling anyone.
True. There was 1 year I didn't throw it at all, and then like 2 years I threw it sporadically. But throw those 3 years out, and it's something that I throw often and religiously when I'm targeting like summer pattern bass. My God, does it work?
Smallies and largies.
Oh yeah. To elaborate a little bit on Carolina Rig, 18 to 24 inches for how long you want to tie behind your swivel to your bait. I like throwing a 1/2 ounce weight on the front. You can do whatever else you want with it. There's a lot of little tricks beyond that. You guys are going to have to figure those out for yourself because I worked hard to kind of find like what I feel is like a phenomenal presentation for weight and everything else I'm tying on and length and what baits I do better with. But it's something that I will now keep quiet about. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah. I think I was throwing the 3. I think it was 1/2 ounce is what I was throwing.
Probably.
I think so.
That's like our go-to.
Yeah. 1/2 ounce is just, it just works all around.
Yeah.
For everything, really.
I like that from Joe. Bluegills are bigger and like the vegetables in the summer heat. Spot on. If you're working a lot of vegetation and you don't see any bluegill around, maybe pick a different batch. You start seeing a lot of bluegill around, game on. Elaborating on other baits. Dude, you can... Man, there's so many crazy things. Big swim baits, like big Kitex or like other brands that are out there. There's so many good bait makers out there making big soft body swim baits that are phenomenal. You're talking about Beast Coast. The Miyagi is great. You can throw it on just a regular belly weighted swim bait hook. You can throw like one with the flashy swimmer. So it's got a little blade underneath it. The Beast Coast Creep. It's a much bigger bait, 6.5 inch. If you can get your stuff on some more specialty things, Working Class Zero, the Citizens, phenomenal.
6 inch, 7 inch. They make a 9 inch.
I think he's working on it. I don't know that he actually released it yet.
I want it.
CHR Swim Baits on Instagram. I think he has a website. I'm pretty sure he does. Maybe not. Maybe he's only on Instagram. CHR dot swim baits, I think is what it
I
is.
think it's Dot Swim Baits.
He makes, do we have so many of his swim baits? The Chuleta, Junior, the regular Chuleta, like crazy good swim baits. And you can do anything with those. You can straight swim them. You can work them like a jig on the bottom. Doesn't matter. Like, there's no end to what you can do for moving baits for bass, and they love it.
I don't know where it is.
Oh, I tried to click on it. Joe, spend the money on Strike King Tungsten. They're the best by far. You're talking about the Carolina rig weights. Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. Those are phenomenal. Citizen 6-inch. I like that better than the 7. Wholeheartedly agree. 316 Rising Sun, I have not heard of. I need to look at that.
I like the 7-inch. Now I do.
Yep. Oh my God. You know what we didn't talk about yet for shallow water largies? Frogs.
I mentioned it.
That's true. You did. That was one of the first things. We didn't elaborate on that much.
Everybody knows
Buzzbait.
that.
It's another thing we don't talk about. Not a lot of people throw a buzzbait anymore, I find, because I think a lot of guys went to like big wake baits and whopper ploppers and things like that instead. Buzzbait is still a deadly good bait. And you can play around with trailers on that too. You don't have to, but you absolutely can. And another thing we didn't really... Oh, no, I talked about spinner baits. That's another thing you can play around with trailers. Sometimes no trailer is just fine. Other times, a 5-inch swim bait can go a long way in making the difference in how effective a spinner bait can be. Play around with it. I like spinner baits better on windy days, but I still prefer a bladed jig over a spinner bait. I don't know what the hell is going on with spinner bait bite the last 2 years, but it's just been like terrible. So there's that. All right. We are very late on doing this raffle.
Yes,
so
Joe, I completely agree with that.
what do you say?
Chatterbait with a massive trailer.
Beast Coast Miyagi on the back of a chatterbait is stupid good. It's a 4.65 inch swim bait, and it's got a big belly. So it almost looks like a bluegill profile. It is a meaty freaking profile, and they hammer it.
Jerry, yes, there's a lot of people using Active Target up here.
Here, take over for a minute. So, oh, you can't take over for a minute. Well, you can start answering questions. You just can't pin comments yet.
Okay.
Because I need to make sure I get... Oh, God. You can see the other chat.
I didn't even get to get on your boat to see it.
All right. Who
Wait,
else?
does he have... Joe, do you have Active Target or whatever one you have? I don't know. Isn't there like 15 different ones? Pretty much every company has their own.
I got them. Did I get everybody? God, I hope so. Is that it?
I can't get that. Oh, I can't even touch it.
What are you trying to do?
Nothing.
I got Alec and Kyle and Chad and Joe and...
Panny and 360.
Ooh, not that one.
Fancy.
I got that one. Let me go back to this one. I want to make sure I got everybody for the raffle before I jump into this. I got Alec, I got Kyle, I got Chad, I got Joe. I don't think I saw anything in PayPal, but I want to make sure that nobody else jumped in on that yet.
Jim. You got Jim too.
Jim. I did get Jim. Oh, he was probably the one on PayPal. Come on, thing. Update for me. Sorry, am I...
Stuck my head all.
You're welcome. Okay, I got Jim. All right, we're good. Okay, everybody's in. We got everybody that got in on the raffle. For everybody that did, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. Let's do this really quick. We did elaborate a little bit with Jerry. Yeah, absolutely, dude. There's tons of people using Active Target, Mega Live Scope up here. It's absolutely crazy. And a lot of people throwing using Mega 360 as well.
You can look under mats.
Oh, Jerry, if you do have a machine shop, make a bracket at 8 degrees and Leo the standard 20. I like that. I like that a lot. As it so happens, one of our best friends happens to own a machine shop. Joe, might switch to Mega Live next boat so I can get the new target lock because I'm fine with losing some clarity in my forward-facing sonar. See, that's the thing. I'd like to be able to see the final difference. Someone did a video on that recently, and actually Garmin just released their Live Scope 2.0. I'm curious to see what the difference is between that and the original Live Scope, because from everything I read, Garmin is still tops, but only barely edging out Lowrance's Active Target, And I don't know how much the 2.0 changes that, if at all. And oh my God,
360
Joe.
makes the hard bottom just glows.
Yep, I can't, like, I don't need live scope. I want it, but I cannot live without my 360. I feel like I'm blind out there now without having it, because the difference in the overall quality of fish we have caught as a result of that prior to not having it is just insane.
Yeah.
Being able to see the differences in bottom composition and then making, like, just pin perfect, deadly accurate casts too that's been worth everything for us. All right, let's share this and do this raffle. Chrome tab, that one. Oh no. Damn it. What? Stupid thing. Yeah, it's because of this.
What? Where is it?
Dude, really? Okay, hang on. Scroll. There we go. Share. Screen. Chrome tab. This is the downside of this. I see, like, I can't
see it. Oh, there it is.
God damn, what a pain in my ass. Okay, there's that. Can everybody see this? Better be able to. We go there. Yeah, okay. So, shuffle. Everybody has been randomized. And click the spin. Come on. Big whammy, big whammy, big whammy.
Like it's
Alec! Hey! Well, okay, there it is. There's the official winner. All right, Alec, congrats, buddy.
What do you want?
Hat or shirt? If you could email me, please, at 603bass@gmail.com. Let me know what you want. If you want a shirt, let me know what size you want, please. We have the gray shirt with the color logo or black shirt with the white logo. Yeah, neither one of us are wearing them. We're terrible about this.
It looks like this, but that logo.
You know what's funny? I am an idiot. Let's try that again. Now you can actually see us. We have this logo, color version on a gray shirt, or this logo all white on a black t-shirt. So let me know what you want. Zoom in. That's Chad. I hate Alec. Fuck Alec.
Hey, I like
Every
Alec.
time he doesn't lose or he doesn't win, whoever it is, insert name. I hate that person. Yeah, Joe, you're absolutely spot on that. That's actually a really, really good point to put it up. Garmin always edge out Lowrance. The company that makes the forward-facing sonar for both brands contractually will always give the tech to Low first. Like it. Oh, Jerry, our NDA has been lifted. Active target is by far the best if wired correctly. I like it. I like it a lot. Weird. Okay, we have covered a lot.
I always have a buzzbait on you, so
Oh.
Who's this?
That's from Jerry with wiring it. That is phenomenal information. Thank you very much, Jerry. Ooh.
You know, I never talked to Jerry in my life, and then I was getting Chinese food before my trip down to Florida.
Yeah.
And I spent a good, 35 minutes on the phone with him while I was eating Chinese food.
Because he's a damn good dude.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, Alec, your choice, man. T-shirt or hat. Just let me know what you want. If it's hat, let me know what color you want. If it's T-shirt, again, let me know what color and size you want, please, and address. But email me, please, 603bass@gmail.com, and we'll get it sorted. Yeah, here, Jerry, you know what? I can actually show that. If everybody gives me uno momento, por favor.
Oh, thanks, Joe, for being nice to our subs, our followers,
Why
our peoples that follows us. Is that English? Was it good English?
Stop screen. It was
not listening.
Removed from the studio. Where did... love learning. That's why 603 fans are the best. Well, they are the best. Mm-hmm. All right, so if I go to you and Jerry, and I got the photo, let's take and save to that. Yep, just save it there. That'll work. Make it easier. Let's share. Slide? Nope. Oh, yeah, from your computer.
Upload.
Yeah. Upload file. See, we're getting there. Slowly but surely. That. No, what? All files, you doomer. Bingo, bango, bongo. Open. Invalid file type. Get out of here. All right, hang on. Don't worry about that. I gotta.
Sorry, boys.
No, sir. I have workarounds for everything. What the hell's a damn snipping tool? What do you mean invalid file type? That's stupid. Oh, no, it's on the screen. I can't do it. All right, let's do... There's no way around this. I can do this. Yeah.
Uno momento, por favor.
Share, screen, Chrome tab, that one. Yep, okay.
I don't know what you're doing.
There it is. Is that actually showing up? Yeah, there we go. So that's what Jerry sent us when talking about active target being wired correctly. Sonar Pros wiring harness number 4 for life. You got it. Thanks, Jerry. So, Eric, what are you talking about? Sorry, what did I miss? Falling behind. So anyway, we have the active target itself. We have 28 volt converter to a 20 volt to 45 volt input. What else am I missing? And then everything goes through. Interesting.
20 volt to 20. Oh.
I like it. Well, there you go, people.
Makes sense.
Learn something new today. Remove. Okay, there's that. Hide that. Okay, what else do we miss? We covered a lot more on deep water smallmouth than we did shallow water largemouth. But to recap on shallow water largemouth, I think the most important lesson to take away from that is there are days where you can catch them literally in inches of water out to 30 feet on the same body of water, only 100 feet apart.
Yeah, like he'll throw against the shore and catch one. I'll just turn around and throw at a deep grass patch behind the boat and catch one. And they could literally be anywhere on the lake.
Yep. But the one consistent that we found, and it's not the end-all, be-all, but my God, it's really, really good to work around, is vegetation. They're moved up in there. They like to hide. They can ambush from it. They can get out of the sun if they want to. All the bait fish are moved in there. They're hiding too. It's just really easy to work around. You kind of can't go wrong. If you want to go up and work pads and, throw a Texas rig or punching baits in there or a frog over the top, you can do that just as easily as you can go out into 20 feet of water and throw jigs and Carolina rigs and swim baits into or over the top or on the outside edges of submerged grass. One thing I just realized we didn't even talk about was a Senko. You can never, ever, ever go wrong with a Senko. It's just, it's kind of a given, right? Like, do we really have to talk about a Senko?
Wacky rig, Texas rig.
Nico rig.
Nico rig.
Although, you know what's hilarious? After all those fish we crushed all weekend, the final day we were out there, I threw a Nico rig Senko hard for like an hour, and I caught 2 rats on it. And I looked at him, I'm like, this is the dumbest shit ever. I'm actually getting annoyed I can't catch good fish on a Senko. And I pick up my jig and immediately stick quality fish. Mm-hmm. I will never complain about that. I'm just making note that was some really weird, wild shit. Because a Senko should always catch no matter what you're doing.
That's some bunk ass shit.
If you're in a lake that doesn't really have a ton of vegetation, then shade in any way, shape, or form. Docks, floating docks, swim rafts. Like, dude, it doesn't matter. All good stuff. Shade is always your friend on, like, insanely hot days where you're going to have bluebird skies and no wind, especially in, like, tournaments. You better find really productive water that has shade right nearby. That's going to be your best friend.
What did we forget? I didn't forget. I just didn't read.
Don't forget me. Eric, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. You said 360 next year on my list. Don't forget me. 360 next year on my list. Don't forget me. You forgot me. Oh, in the fucking raffle. Sorry, buddy. I realized what I did. I done did it, and I'm sorry. Wait, did you even text me how many you wanted? But
I do not know.
I don't. Ah!
That's our bad.
Oh, son of a bitch. Eric, I'm so sorry. We'll get this squared away after, buddy. Don't worry. I got you. We'll get this sorted out. I'm so sorry. All right, let's go back. So I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want us to cover for shallow water largemouth? Because I feel like that's something I could literally talk about for 3 or 4 hours straight and go over like so many like crazy specific scenarios. So actually, that's a great thing. Give me a specific scenario, and the two of us will cover it. Holy crap. There's a lot of comments. Oh, Sir Altitude. I'd love to hear if the lithium battery provides more clarity on finders than lead acid batteries.
Joe and Jerry got that covered. If you've been
okay, I was going to say, reading. So, and they don't improve the clarity, but the view will not fade out like what happens with lead acid slowly loses voltage. Okay, so there's that. That was what Jerry said right there. We'll pin that for a second. Direct to battery is what matters. Most pros use C-Clear cable. Yes, we covered that last year with Steve Estes at Bass Fishing Electronics right here in New Hampshire. I just remembered something. We're going to have him back on the show shortly, by the way. Here, take over for a second. I want to get something.
What are you
I'm very excited about this. Everything hurts. Everything hurts.
I don't know. I'm as confused as you guys are. Wait, TV18, did we miss you too? Oh, no. Zoda and the 8-inch bullworm Nico rig. What do you guys think, Sean? Any 8-inch bullworm, 8-inch Nico rig? Yeah, dude, I would throw that. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually. What the hell's a bullworm, though? I've never heard of that. Maybe I'm just new to new baits, unless it's an old bait, and I just don't know what it is. Let's see here. Hold on. Oh, my God. Yeah. Yeah, Joe, I'm going to try that. 8-inch bullworm, Nico. Whoa, hello. Not confused anymore.
Look what I got.
Where'd you get that?
I got it in the mail today. This is my Secret Santa gift. Just kidding. I paid for that. I got a...
Oh, it's a 9. Oh, the other one was a 9 that broke.
Just the transducer. But it was such a good deal, the 9-inch, so I was like, I want the 9. Anyway, funny story. We're talking about electronics, and our good buddy there, Steve, at Bass Fishing Electronics, and when we were up on Champlain, we actually ran into him. He's out pre-fishing for a tournament. And later that day, my Lowrance LSS1 transducer, does my side imaging, decided to explode off the back of my boat.
Because we decided to jump a wake.
No, so I was talking to people at work, and they're like, it was already cracked. Oh, so there had to be water intrusion, and once water gets in there, it just... Oh. And that's what happened. And it just, it's bad. It grenaded. But the problem is I have an HDS Gen 3, like the original HDS series that does not work with the new 3-in-1, and the LSS one was discontinued. So I wasn't going to spend $300 or $400 on a used one off eBay when that's like more expensive than a brand new 3-in-1, but I need a new head unit. So voila. Come back. We found a happy solution. We bought a brand new Lowrance Lowrance Carbon 9 with the 3-in-1 transducer. So that is going to go at the helm where my current HDS Gen 3 9-inch is. That HDS Gen 3 9 goes to the front of the boat to replace my 7, so I'll have 3 9s across the boat. I'll have the new fancy 3-in-1 transducer, and I'm a very, very, very happy man that I'm going to get the better side imaging finally. And it's live compatible. One thing I forgot to ask him was, I really hope this talks to my HDS, or we're going to have problems. Might be buying a second graph.
It should. It is an HDS.
Truth. It should be all right. Well, we'll see. Joe, Zona and the 8-inch bullworm Nico rig. What do you guys think? Oh, hell yeah. I love throwing giant Nico rig worms. I'm starting to find.
I just like throwing big baits in general now.
Yeah.
I've kind of just fallen in love the last year and a half.
No, Eric, I'm sorry. Your name wasn't on the wheel. I screwed up. I'm so sorry. Don't worry, buddy. We'll get you squared away.
Carbon will speak to HDS.
Carbon. Perfect. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, dude. 8-inch bullworm Nico rig. All about it. You know, I think an 8-inch bullworm on a shaky head would also work extremely well. I don't see why not. That'd be fun.
Joe, don't make fun of me. I don't pay attention to what I throw.
How do the spear point hooks work? So I've only had the opportunity to throw them a couple of times, and I really like those, Jerry. Thank you.
Those the crazy looking ones?
Dude.
Yeah, those are sick.
So that one that I hooked at Champlain, that smallmouth, like the only fish I got deep, Actually, all of them were on that Spear Point one. I only had a couple because I was a dumbass and I only unpacked like one bag in my box.
They're pretty cool.
And I broke off all the rest. So I've got a whole box of stuff I need to replenish. But I tell you what, the few fish I did hook, you were not kidding. That's like a stapler to them. They just like immediately pinned up and it was great. Like top dead center, stuck. Even that really thin one, it was great.
They spot you.
If you need to ask anything specific, address them to me. And I'll handle it.
Wait, are those the ribbon tail ones? Are they those just the regular big, like wobbly donger worms?
Big old wobbly dongers.
Okay, I know which ones they are then.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I know exactly what they look like. Did we get some?
I actually don't think we did. I'm looking them up right now. No, we didn't.
Yeah, that wobbly donger worm.
Did we get these?
I'm pretty sure
Dude,
we got some.
like,
I thought I ordered some.
Literally thousands of dollars worth of stuff
baby,
from them, and I don't remember what we got.
Instead of normal frogs. On accident.
I don't think we got these. We talked about it, but we ended up not getting them. Because there was other things we wanted to get instead. We prioritized.
Okay.
Yeah, Eric, buddy, yes, I'm sorry. I did mess up. You were not on there. We will take care of you afterwards, I promise. We'll get something squared away. I forgot to put you on the raffle. We'll tell you what, next week when we put you in there, I'll get you. I'll take care of you. I'll put you in there on my dime. Because I done screwed up. I'm so sorry. Iron Dog, don't tell any when you ordered some wobbly dongers. People get the wrong idea. Literally any big bait, like big soft body bait, is wobbly donger. Because why not?
Wobbly sausage.
Properties are wrong. Oh God. All right. What else? I think we covered everything. Again, the goal tonight was to cover all of this from a very broadly specific perspective, which I think we did a really good job of. We covered everywhere the smallmouth could be for this time of the year and a whole range of baits and techniques that work exceptionally well for them. We've also talked about largemouth, not quite as in depth because, I don't know, for me it's like not anywhere near as difficult as it is for smallmouth. But I will say what we are finding this year with the largemouth, they're shallower and staying shallower than they typically would be this time of the year for any other year. And I don't know if that's just like this very northern reach of New England or the whole Northeast or all over the North. But if, for the most part, what I've been seeing is everywhere up in the Northeast, because we had that crazy ass delayed start to a normal spring, and we had way too many cloudy days, it's way colder than average, and we went from that, like, literally in a 2-day span right into a heat wave.
That hasn't let up.
No, and like almost no rain this entire time. It's a 1-2 just double whammy here of not a good combination that did not allow for any healthy vegetation development. And we're still seeing that. Like up on Champlain, there were so many spots that I fished last year that had phenomenal vegetation. Anywhere from like 10 feet out to 30 feet in some areas. And it looks like crap right now. And that goes for so many places. It's weird. When you come right out of ice out and you got vegetation that hangs out all year, and a lot of it kind of dies off and wilts, but like the stalks and stuff are still there. And right after ice out, like it looks like it's covered in rock snot. It's just got all this shit. I don't know why my mic just muted. That was weird. But it just looks terrible. So I don't know what it is, but now we're into the almost end of July, and as of last weekend, that stuff still looks like it just came out of ice out. I can only attribute it to this crazy-ass weather we've had, and then especially on the heels of last year where we had a ton of rain, so the vegetation growth was like explosive and healthier than ever been, but I feel like a lot of that new stuff
It's just
maybe just didn't get a chance to like develop. And then now this year, it's like...
It's starving
super
for
dead?
oxygen.
I don't know, man. It's
Because
weird.
there's too much of it now.
Yeah.
And now it's starving for oxygen.
Oh, Joe, that is a great point. We'll come back to that in 1 second. Jerry, Shallow water tip. If in a tournament they let you go while it's still kind of dark, run to docks with lights and use a jerkbait. I like that. Problem is up here, I don't know of any docks we have around here that have lights on them. There's not many.
Yeah, not too many.
And like
We don't have snook up here.
Yeah, there's like no docks. There's like no places we can run in the dark up here. Usually it's supposed to be, most guys don't run until safe light anyway. But going back to Joe's comment, multi-jointed swim baits like a buka around docks. We skip those fast-moving big baits. Yeah, cranking is something that I haven't done enough of again lately to really speak about it a ton. We should get Epic Eric back on. Talk about that specifically for summer, because that's something I know works exceptionally well.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Joe, thank you very much. I'll come to that in a second. But then there was
Just don't get stuck at the sandbar while it's
giant hard body swim baits. Killer. Glide baits. Killer. Like anywhere around the structure. Like we saw it firsthand again here on Lake Champlain where Andrew threw his giant depths 250. First cast.
Oh yeah, I was nuts.
4 good fish. 3 of them were quality, like 3.5 to 4 pounds, and then one that was like well over 5+. Tank. Mm-hmm. And you should have had it if the camp kids didn't both just like immediately cast literally on top of your bait.
Let me cast at that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. You guys take it.
But thank you. When we're talking shallow water, I don't know why this didn't come to mind. Maybe it's because I've barely thrown it recently. Fluke. Oh my God. Weightless Texas rig fluke is dynamite in shallow water for largemouth. Around lily pads, thicker vegetation, like wide open water, you can just dead stick it like a Senko. You can work it like a jerkbait. Fluke is killer. And yes, Sir Altitude still gets stuck at the sandbar. That was funny. Dude, we saw a video that Riley had showed us of Joe pushing the boat, all the kids helping him pull it off the sandbar, and then like him climbing on the back of the boat, just be like,
like he just puts his head down.
Child labor. What brand hooked? Wow, that hurt. I am partial to Gamakatsu myself. And Strike King.
Gamakatsu are owners. Owners are good.
Yep. What is it? The Strike King Hack Attack Heavy Cover? Is that what it is? Hang on. Or is it just... I want to make sure I get this right. Strike King Hack... No, Flippin' Hook. Yeah.
Oh, this one right here, you mean? Didn't I just see one?
Strike King. Yeah, I was right. Strike King Hack Attack Flippin' Hook. I really, really like those hooks.
Is that the one? Oh, yeah. Those are... Yes.
Gamakatsus are nice. We have some, I'm trying to think, owners that we've tried. Those have been good. Like, there's quite a few. Like, I'm not really partial to one brand over the other. I do like the Strike King Hack Attack Flippin' Hooks actually the most.
Something that is very girthy. Something that can withstand hooking into a big fish in very thick grass.
Yep. And 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0 is pretty much all I've been using. When it comes to flipping hooks, I actually like the hook point to come up a little bit further in the body because it makes my baits last a little longer. But there are some days that I found where like I need the hook point to just barely come up and hit in between the appendages of whatever bait I'm throwing. And we really found that out last year, specifically on Lake Champlain. We were catching them wicked good in the grass. And I broke one off, and I had a 5/0 hook at first. So I just grabbed a 4/0, thinking like, this kind of fits my bait a little bit better. It's the right size, like better ratio. And I started missing fish left and right. Screw this, put the 5/0 hook back on, and started hammering them. And Andrew went to go tie, and I'm like, tie a 5/0. I'm telling you, it makes a difference. Even though like it barely fit on the bait, but hookup ratio went to 100% after that. Alec, I can answer that question about the hat in 1 second. Flipping definitely a new BKK that dropped at iCast. Cannot straighten it. I do want to see that. And
is that the one they pulled the truck with?
Ooh, is it? I want to see that. What else? For Fluke, yeah, Caffeine Shad is good. I like the Zoom Flukes. Those are good. I want to try the Magnums on that. And what the hell is the Yamamoto one? It's on the tip of my tongue. Can't remember it. Damn it. It's up there somewhere. Anyway, those are all good. Answer question for 1 second. I'm going to get Alec. Alec, I don't know the hats. Hats.
There's no questions anymore. You took all the questions. You left me. Huh?
Alec, we have them all.
Alec, we have them all.
Black with white logo, multicam with white logo, gray like I'm wearing with a white logo.
Oh, this is not.
A couple of winter hats, the winter camo flex fits. All of the other ones are flat brim, structured front, and snapback. Joe, love that barely fit on the bait in the grass, not wood though. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. If you're fishing around hard structure, no, you got to have a bait. The hook needs to be a little bit smaller so it really gets into the meat of the body. Or you're just going to hook shit left, right, and center. I don't know, man. Like, there's so many other things that can be honorable mentions, although fluke is definitely not. That's like a go-to, and I'm kind of kicking myself in the ass now you're mentioning it. We've covered a lot. It's already 10 o'clock. I have a very early day ahead of me tomorrow. Is there any other last things you guys want to cover before we wrap it up? Because I think that was pretty extensive. And next up, we got to do like a 10-minute condensed version of this for a regular video for the channel. That's something I'll actually probably do tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, going out tomorrow, aren't you?
Yep. That's a good one. That's going to be a really good one to have.
I want a boat sponsor. I want a boat.
Fingers crossed here
Yeah,
on that. Oh, here we go. Joe, here's a question. Ooh. Offset round bend or EWG hook for a fluke. Extra wide gap for those that are not familiar with the abbreviation. I personally prefer an EWG, and I like the heavier gauge, like the heavy cover hooks or the super line hooks, I think is what they're called.
I don't fish flukes enough to even really give a shit what hook's in it as long as it catches me a fucking fish.
If I'm fishing a fluke, I like the thicker, heavier gauge hook because it helps it slide into cover a little bit better, and I can work it more like a jerkbait a little bit better, so I can actually like twitch it along. If I'm fishing like just a weightless Texas rig Senko, I actually like just a regular gauge, a thinner wire hook, still EWG, because for that I just want it to, same deal as a wacky rig, I just want it to fall under its own weight and just kind of like do a little glide as it's going down, but take its time nice and light and fall super slow, because that's the bite I'm banking on. If I'm fishing a fluke, it's because I want to fish a little bit faster, so I want that, albeit very minimal added weight, but critically added weight that makes a huge difference for how I can work it and get the action out of it.
Yeah, you do fish like a jerkbait a lot.
I do. I was doing it a lot this weekend.
Oh, no, we did go up to that one spot last year and do it all day. Mm-hmm. And it was a blast.
We killed it.
So much fun.
Phenomenal. Alec, make sure you send that email, please, buddy. Let me know what you want, and I can get. I need your mailing address again, please, and I will get that out tomorrow. Joe, very interesting to see people's hook selection with fluke and Senko. Yeah, I know I am definitely different when it comes to that. I guess it's a confidence thing. There's other hooks I wouldn't mind trying, but I've never had an issue with hookup ratio, or I don't know. I feel like I'm not limited in any way, shape, or form fishing the EWGs. I use those for a lot of other things too. So just to kind of simplify the selection of what I have and use, I just stick with it. It works. Ever go flipping hook with a 6-inch Senko? Not yet, but that thought did cross my mind. Actually, when I'm Carolina rigging, I like to use a flipping hook. I'll do a 3 or 4-aught flipping hook because the way I set the hook and the baits I like to throw, it just works incredibly well. We killed it on Champlain last year, Carolina rigging one day.
Oh, that was so much fun.
Every single fish was with a flipping hook. And that's probably really out of the norm.
Not snow.
Yeah, but we were also fishing it pretty fast. Like Carolina rig, you can fish so many different ways. And if you fish with like a light setup that wants to kind of float and stay like up higher, a thin, lightweight gauge hook will help the bait stay up a little bit and float down steadier. But I'm kind of like power fishing it through veggies like we were last year on Champlain, where I'm not like quite swimming the whole Carolina rig through, but kind of. Then it doesn't really matter. And then I want that.
Kind of like dragging and snapping it out of the grass, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of like a jiggy kind of fishing,
but like rapid movement. Like you're working it fast.
Yeah.
And I'm going either straight 30 or even 50-pound braid or straight 20-pound fluoro. And then my tag I'm tying, if I'm like power fishing it, I do 15-pound fluoro. And it it's a deadly combo. I rarely miss fish on it. It's awesome.
Well,
Oh, snell or not to snell? You guys might hate me. I've never tied a snell knot. This is actually something we talked about one of the earliest episodes on this show, and like a lot of people are like, "What?"
I don't need to.
I didn't even know what a snell was because it's one of those. I never once thought about it.
I'm never really in the situation where I need to tie a snell knot, because if I need to change up my knot to fish a certain bait, besides drop shot and a couple other baits, I'll just go. I'm not fishing tournaments. I'm not out there to beat anybody. I'm just out there to catch big fish, and I'll throw the baits that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, it's funny because this came up last year, and I forget where the hell we were going, but I was thinking about that. And this is only like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I looked it up because, again, I've never tied one, so I never even looked at how to tie it. And so I looked at how to tie it, and then I remember like hearing an interview or something with Brandon Polnick, and he was talking about that. Years ago, he was like, "Nah, I'd never even bother with the snell. I don't see the point. I don't see the benefit." And then I saw another thing recently, just while I was searching like how to tie it, I saw a thing with Polnick come back up, and he was like, "Okay, so in the past, I didn't see the point, but now I can see in certain situations where, yes, I feel a snell knot is definitely better than tying anything else, because essentially the benefit of it is that when you set the hook, it's always going to keep that hook straight and want to come up. So for single hook point applications, a snell knot, in theory and in practice in certain applications, from the limited reading and listening I've done to, it absolutely makes a difference."
Under an ounce. Okay, all right.
Where was that? Oh, BP isn't a snell guy under an ounce. Okay, there we go. Do you still have any of the trucker caps with the gray front panels and black on the rest, or is the black front panel? I don't have any trucker hats. I am all sold out. I need to do an order again sooner than later. There is 1,000 things on my plate, including needing to get decals. I'm doing the best I can to get it all done, but I don't have any trucker hats right now. If you want to wait for the next one, there's actually another guy I owe a trucker hat to as well. We can do that, and I'll set a reminder on my phone so I don't forget about it. And I get that squared away. I got to do a trucker hat sooner than later. I should probably just make that phone call tomorrow. That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea, is it? Probably not. Ordering more trucker hats. Dude, they sell out so fast every time. I don't know why I don't just keep those in a constant rotation. Oh, wait, that's right. I know why. Because I'm constantly buried under shit I got to do. This whole thing is hard to keep up with. Yes, Joe, please and thank you. I did have a guy. Unfortunately, he's been utterly swamped and other things going on. I've had this like open order for like 4 months that has not been fulfilled. So I feel bad, but I got to find somebody else because I've got way too many people waiting on decals, and I just need to start fulfilling orders. King Bates, all good, buddy. You made it though. Oh, you won? Hell yeah! Congrats.
Oh yeah, dude.
Kyle, good night. Love how much the channel's improved. Not that it was ever bad, but I feel like you have stepped up to the next level. I'll be utilizing the tips and tricks bright and early. Have a good night, Kyle. Thank you very much, man. Greatly appreciate it. All right, Alex, sounds good. Jim, 4 pages of notes. Thanks, guys. You're very welcome. My recording best, they're fast. All right, Joe, I absolutely will do that. So I got to get that squared away. All right, man. Is there any parting thoughts? Anything we didn't discuss that you want to throw in there for last minute? We didn't really talk about big baits much or the glide.
I know we didn't, which is fine.
Yeah, but now if there's something you want to add on that, like now is a perfect time to talk about the glide.
If you have it, throw it at cover. Throw it at docks. Don't be afraid to throw it at the trees because you should be able to get it out. Other than that, I think we are all set, and we will see you guys next week at 8 p.m. Wait. Just kidding. He still has something to say. One thing I wanted to talk about for shallow water largies, and him saying the big bait reminded me. If you're out there frog fishing or you're throwing a glide, you should 110% have a Senko tied on for follow-up. If they're thick in the veggies, weightless T-rig Senko. If they're out in open water, wacky rig Senko. You should have that shit on the deck, ready to rock, like bait already, like not rigged up on your rod, like ready to go in the casting distance you need from rod tip down.
because whether it's a fish following the glide or a fish you missed on the top water of any kind, burn that shit back in, take that Senko and sling it out there. You will catch way more fish than you might think. Something I wanted to touch upon that I forgot to earlier. It's a very, very, very important point. I've caught a shit ton of fish doing it. Don't forget it. Okay, back to it.
Where was I? See ya.
Mike, you literally said nothing the whole night until the very end. No Senkos. Listen, I have no shame. I like catching fish. I like catching fish on specific techniques, but I like catching fish more than not catching fish. I don't give a shit what I'm throwing. If I got to throw a Senko to get fish in the boat, God damn it, so be it. I'm going to tie on the Senko.
The whole night. No Senkos. I fucking love it.
All right. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Joe, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. Jerry, King Bates, Jim, Alec, Eric. Like, I mean, no, I was just, Kyle, he's
Everybody.
gone. King Bates.
Good night.
Did I miss anybody else? There's a lot of people. I go way back. Sir Altitude, Iron Dog, you were here. You're gone. That's all good. Jerry, I already said you, I think, but I'm going to say Jerry again. TV18. Oh, my God. So many people. You're all wonderful people. I appreciate you. Screw you, Mike. Senko hater.
Thanks a party pooper.
All right, do your final form. Oh, wait. What are we doing next week? I have no idea what we're doing next week.
I don't know
so it doesn't matter.
We'll
see you next week regardless.
But you will find out next week, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. at youtube.com/603bass. I fucking nailed it.
Hey, you did it. It's like
turkey. Oh. Wait, no, you're supposed to go high five, and then I go turkey.
I like that.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
See you.